Chapter 450. The servants from Chow Hurui's family came here on purpose. Not only were they on paid leave today, but they were also given some food and wine in food boxes in the morning when they went to work. Zhang Xiaobao guessed that they would come looking for trouble. If they were wrong, he would just treat them to a meal. When these people came, they began to look for a place where the Lu family ate. They wanted to see where they were going to cook, so they went to the side and ate their own food. Normally, fishermen would not have a place to cook on the shore when they went out to fish. Usually they would bring rice dumplings from home. There were also rice dumplings that were similar to rice dumplings. The rice was steamed and some vegetables were rolled up. If it was better, some fish was rolled up and the outside was wrapped with vegetables. In this way there were meat dishes and rice. Some liked to eat sour food, so they added some vinegar. Some liked to eat sour food and some liked to eat it because the weather was hot. When the food was taken out, it would be a little fermented and sour, and it would have a different taste. The Lu family was not used to it, so they specially arranged for people to cook on the shore. They wanted to learn how Zhang Zhong's family treated the working people. For example, when they were working, there were people cooking for them. Now, even if it was not a waste of time, there were people who would give them rolls or giamos. If they did not have a place to cook, wouldn't they be worse than the ordinary people? In fact, their status was not comparable to that of the ordinary people, but they did not think so. They deliberately learned from the ordinary people and asked people to spread a few pancakes, fried 2 vegetarian dishes, and put in some shrimp, small dried fish and other things to eat. It was only a little different from what the ordinary people ate. They replaced the meat dishes with vegetarian dishes. The servants from Chow Hurui's family also knew about this, and deliberately came to laugh at the Lu family. Today the food that Zhang Xiaobao prepared for them was very good. Smoked chicken made by Zhang Dashan, pig head meat, and in addition to these two, there were even 5 caddies of spiced beef. Beef was amazing. Normally they would not even dare to think about eating it, let alone eat it. They made some coriander and garlic sauce for themselves, and found a place to sit not far away. They looked at the sea, which they had long been bored of, and listened to the noise of the waves. Now and then they glanced at the sun, hoping that it would leave soon and that it would be noon. After waiting for a long time, they were all dazed by the sun. Finally noon came. All the people who were fishing in this area came up at the same time. The Chow family was a little special. They did not have anyone to cook, so Chow Hurui brought them big steamed buns with vegetable fillings. According to Zhang Xiaobao, these were good things that could replenish a lot of vitamins. He used fruits to replenish himself. If he ate steamed buns, he wanted to replenish his protein. There was more salt in the steamed buns. Firstly, it could prevent the steamed buns from being sunburned. Secondly, it could save the steamed buns from being dipped in soy sauce. Originally, they were told to bring the steamed buns with them and eat them when they were hungry. However, they gathered all the steamed buns together and put them on the shore so that they could rest for a while. As soon as the people of the Chow family came ashore, the 30 people who worked for the Zhang family shouted at them and asked them to come over and eat there. These people who were catching shrimps on the wooden raft also knew that the 30 people were different from others. They wore new clothes with rice seedlings embroidered on them. They did not eat with them at night like before. Instead, they ate 3 meals a day at the Zhang family. They ate well with meat and vegetables and drank wine. These days they had been envious. At this time, when they saw that they were called over, they did not hesitate and took the steamed buns to the side where the Lu family servants were eating today. Xiaoxia, come here. Here is some wine for you to drink. Don't you usually say that you want to drink some wine? I brought it here. There is also beef. Eat as much as you can. When we are working there, we can drink wine and eat meat if we want. Our master is the best. Others can't. One of the 30 people shouted at the thin and weak person coming over. His voice was very loud, so loud that the servants of the other 3 families could hear him clearly. Naturally, the servants of the Lu family heard him the most clearly. As he spoke, he opened the bamboo tube that contained the wine and took out the cut meat. He looked in the direction of the servants of the Lu family and pinched a piece of beef. He slowly put it into his mouth and gently chewed twice. Only then did he take a sip of wine. His movements were not small. It was as the saying went, 1 mouthful of food and 1 mouthful of wine. It would be a lie if the Lu family servants said that they were not greedy. They could only catch some fish to cook at home. They could not taste other meat at all. Even if they brought fish back, they could only see how much oil there was on the fish. If there was no oil, the master would not give them too much oil. They would not care about salt. They could eat whatever they wanted. Looking at the people of the Chow family eating, the people of the Lu family could only pretend that they did not know. Some people quietly scolded them for being shameless. The master family and the Zhang family were at odds, but they still went to the Zhang family to do things. The people of the Lu family could not eat it. They could only smell the fragrance that drifted over. However, the people of the Chao family were different. Everyone had a master. Since they were called over, they would definitely be able to eat it. If they were not called, then it would be another story. The person who was called Xiao Xia was the first to come over. He smiled at the person who called him and said, "Brother Big Fish, you guys are really capable. You can eat such good food and drink wine. Brother Big Fish, are you really going to let me eat it?" "My name is Diyu, not Big Fish. Remember, next time you call me by the wrong name, there will be no food to eat." The person who spoke just now corrected him. In fact, he was used to being called Big Fish in the past. Now he felt that his identity was different. His real name was Big Rain. He did not know where he heard it. There was also a powerful person called Diyu, so he changed his name. Of course, Xiao Xia did not dare to argue about this matter. If he did, there would be no food to eat. He smiled even more amiably and said, "Brother Diyu, do you think people like us can also go to the Zhang family to do things?" Diyu was happy to be called. He pinched 2 pieces of beef and placed them in the palm of Xiao Xia's outstretched hand generously. Then he handed the bamboo tube over and said, "For this matter, you have to find the master. The master is very capable. He can talk to the people of the Zhang family. Maybe it will work. Compared to the masters of other families, our master is more than 100 times better. What can other masters do? They will be deceived." Yes, the masters of other families can be deceived. Yes, the meat is really delicious. The wine is also good. Xiao Xia echoed. He drank 2 pieces of meat and a mouthful of wine, making him feel comfortable from inside out. "Who are you talking about? Which family's master was fooled? Say it clearly. Who is the more capable one?" One of the more hot-tempered people from the Lu family finally could not hold it in. It was fine that he smelled the fragrance of the wine and dishes, but he actually dared to talk about his master? He stood up and pointed at Big Fish. This person was half a head taller than Big Fish and was also stronger than him. If it was before, Big Fish could only endure. But now it was different. He was originally sitting, but he also stood up and shouted at the person who came, "I will talk about whoever comes over. What can you do? Do you dare to touch me? I work for the Zhang family. If you touch me, I will say that I can't do it anymore. I will ask the people of the Zhang family to come over and teach you a lesson. Now that I have told you, I will talk about you. I will say that your master is stupid and was deceived. You think you can take advantage of him. So what? If you can't get the shrimp sauce, you can wait to lose money. My master is capable. Look at the food we eat and look at the junk you eat. Capable, this is capable. Do you understand?" This person from the Lu family really wanted to make a move, but when he heard what Big Fish said, he could only clench his fists tightly. He was indeed afraid of the Zhang family, not only because Zhang Zhong was the provincial governor but more importantly because those people from the Zhang family really dared to kill people. He had a straightforward personality and did not dare to make a move now. When he heard Big Fish proudly belittling his master, he almost cried in anger. The other members of the Lu family also did not dare to come over and cause trouble. They stood there and felt waves of sadness in their hearts. Their master had been deceived. That person surnamed Chao went to the Zhang family to enjoy life. It would be a lie to say that they were not envious. But who could they blame? On their side, the people from the Chao Hurui family were happy. They ate and sipped some wine and kept talking about the Lu family. In any case, there was nothing good to say. The people from the other 2 families acted as if this matter did not concern them. They were jealous of the Chao family, but they were also happy that the Lu family was being talked about. They had never forgotten that the Lu family did not give them food to eat in the past. The Lu family began to eat. The people of the Lu family began to eat in silence. One of them was quite ambitious. He said to the people beside him, "Hurry up and eat. After you finish eating, go catch prawns. No matter what, we have to deal with this matter. We can't count on others. When we go back, we will tell Master. All officials are the same. Master will not be inferior to anyone. Only shameless people would hug the thigh of the Zhang family." After he said this, the people from the Lu family really gained some morale. They ate faster. The people from the Chao family ate very slowly. The main reason was that they could not bear to eat too quickly. That way they would not be able to taste the wine and food. They all looked at the people from the Lu family with mocking expressions on their faces. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also eating lunch. The 2 of them did not know that their strategy of sowing discord had achieved very good results. The 2 of them came out in the morning and rode on the same horse. They ran towards the project that Qidong was in charge of. On the way, they slowed down a little to look at the surrounding scenery and the situation of the grain planted on the ground. When it was almost time for lunch, they arrived at the site. The two of them not only saw the pile of firewood used to cook salt, but also saw the people cooking salt by the sea. At this time the meal was ready. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found a place to eat. There was no table and Qidong did not make pancakes. For the sake of greed, it was better to cook normally. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan carried their own plates and walked casually to Qidong's side. They squatted there and began to eat. As they ate, they stopped to look at Qidong. If it was a normal person doing this, Qidong would have already become angry. However, he did not dare to provoke the two children of the provincial governor's family. He could only force himself to endure. Cuckoo, with so many pots used to cook salt, how much salt do you think can be cooked for several days? Is the salt enough for the people working here? Zhang Xiaobao did not plan to let Qidong eat peacefully. He asked Wang Wan. Wang Wan swallowed the food in her mouth. With so many pots cooking, if the people working here eat the salt, they will probably die. Since it is cooked, why can't I see any salt? Where did the salt go these past few days? Xiaobao, do you know? If you don't know, ask your father. I will ask him later. Chapter 451. Qidong Feng looked at the two children and thought they were very interesting. At this time he couldn't find his previous thoughts. Listening to the two people casually talking, Qidong's sweat flowed even faster. He found that the weather was not so hot and there was a kind of coldness from inside out. If possible, Qidong really wanted to strangle the two children to death, but he could only think about it. Not to mention that there were guards standing beside the two children. Even if there was no one beside them, he wouldn't dare to do it. He naturally knew who the two children were. One was the son of the provincial governor, and the other was his future daughter-in-law. If anyone dared to harm them, the people here would tear them apart before the people with the crossbows could do anything. Since he couldn't do it, he could only use other methods. Qidong thought about it. He didn't have anything on him that could attract the children, so he grabbed a handful of mud from the ground. There was a lot of sand, so he rubbed it vigorously. He first rubbed out the large grains of sand, and the rest was barely enough to make something. While the others were eating, he made a small stick of grass and made and sculpted it. Soon, the two hands holding each other's hands made a small clay man. Its face looked similar to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Ignoring the uncomfortable feeling of his clothes sticking to his body due to the hot weather and the nervousness, he smiled and brought it closer to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who were eating. Little young master, do you think it's fun? If it's fun, I'll make it for the two of you. I can make whatever you want. This was the only method Qidong could think of, and he hoped it would be useful. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan put down their chopsticks and looked at the clay man, then looked at Qidong and nodded. Without waiting for Qidong to say his purpose, Zhang Xiaobao spoke. It's fun. I didn't expect that not only are you good at calculating, but you're also so skillful. Can you really make whatever we want? Yes, absolutely. Little young master and little miss, I'll make it. Seeing that there was hope, Qidong hurriedly promised happily. Wang Wan looked at the place where the salt was boiling and said with a smile, I want a clay man like that. What kind? Qidong asked. A good deputy county magistrate who is always considerate of the people and won't try his best to make money from selling salt every day. He needs to have a heart that is purer than gemstones, a pair of clear eyes and a sense of justice. Even if his nose is a little flat, even if he is a little short, even if his eyes are a little small, he is still tall in the eyes of the people. He is as lofty as a mountain and as vast as the sea. I wonder if you can pinch him? Wang Wan said to Qidong with a smile. With a clatter, the clay figurine in Qidong's hand fell to the ground. Then with a plop, he knelt down in front of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. His face was full of fear and his body was trembling. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued to eat as if they didn't see it. From time to time they would give each other their favorite food. They looked like they were innocent. The people nearby also heard Wang Wan's words. As long as they were not stupid, they would know who Wang Wan was talking about. At this time, they realized that County Magistrate Qi had been lying to them to cook salt for the past few days. He said that it was for others to eat and to save money for the provincial governor. In fact, he kept it for himself. They were so angry that they stopped eating. They stood up and surrounded Qidong. If it weren't for the fact that little young master and little miss didn't do anything, they would have boiled Qidong like seawater to see if they could get a heart that was purer than gemstones. I'm guilty. I know I'm wrong. I'm guilty. Qidong thought that he had done a good job and no one would find out. Now he understood that the provincial governor must have found out and sent the two kids here. While saying that he was guilty, he kept kowtowing. Zhang Xiaobao put the last grain of rice into his mouth. He smacked his lips and rinsed his mouth with water. He looked at Qi Dong, who was kneeling there, and said, "My father asked me to ask you if you can't do things peacefully because of gambling debts?" "No, I never gamble." Qi Dong shook his head and answered, "Do you have family members who are sick but don't have money to treat them? Do you need good medicine?" Zhang Xiaobao asked again. "No one is sick. Everyone is fine." Qi Dong continued to shake his head. "Do you have children who are married?" "My son is only 10 years old and my daughter is only 7 years old." "How can they get married?" "No. Since you don't have children, then your crime of corruption can't be reduced. How will you be sentenced? If you are not as good as the law, you will be flogged 70 times. If you are not as good as the law, you will be flogged 100 times. If you are not as good as the law, you will be a disciple for a year. If you are not as good as the law, you will be punished. If you are the one who lost the ransom, you will be punished. If you are the one who begged, you will be punished. If you are the one who gave, you will be punished. If not, you will be sentenced to both." "I'm confused. Are you talking about Deputy County Magistrate Qi?" Zhang Xiaobao looked at Qi Dong and asked. When Qi Dong heard these two crimes, he shivered. No matter which one he was sentenced to, he wouldn't be punished. Some things couldn't be said. For example, according to the calculations, the new provincial governor's family should have been killed countless times. Bribery, doing business for personal gain, disobeying the rules, having too many servants in the family, privately appointing officials, and some other things that he didn't know about. None of these things would end well. However, no one cared about the provincial governor. He was caught. It didn't matter how serious the crime was. What was important was that he was convicted. Qi Dong, who didn't dare to say anything, could only kowtow and say that he was guilty. He didn't say anything. Of course, Zhang Xiaobao would not sentence Qi Dong to death. He was clever and talented. That was a small account. If he was properly groomed in the future, it would save him a lot of trouble. It would not be a bad idea to let him check the accounts of other departments. Now, what he was thinking about was to let other people see and give an explanation to the people around. Thinking about this, Zhang Xiaobao ordered, "Come, tie Qi Dong up and send him to my father. Flog him 100 times and lock him up for a year. If he doesn't die from the flogging, consider him lucky." When the guards arrived, they had already received instructions. When they heard the order, they tied Qi Dong up without another word. Qi Dong did not struggle either. He was frightened by the 100 beatings. With so many beatings, even if he did not die, he would be skinned alive, not to mention that it was intentional. He clearly knew that Zhang Xiaobao didn't have the authority to tie him up, but he didn't dare to say anything. It was good that he wasn't taken away. Otherwise, when Zhang Xiaobao and the others left, the people would eat him up. At that time, with so many people beating him up, even if he died, it would only be a light punishment. Zhang Zhong probably wouldn't give a heavy sentence to a citizen who beat someone to death. You dare to take bribes and bend the law? Do you think that there aren't any accounting experts in my residence? Everyone, the bad guy has been taken away. Let's all continue eating. Oh, there's also a scribe. Come, take him away too. After Qi Dong was taken away, Zhang Xiaobao said something to the people around him. He also took away the scribe who cooperated with the crime. Only then did he and Wang Wan send the plates of food to the washing place and leave happily. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't worried that other people with thoughts wouldn't know. The speed at which the people spread news was unimaginably fast. In less than a day, everyone in the province would know of this matter. As for how the rumors spread, it didn't matter. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan leave, the people who knew of the situation let out chaotic cheers. They began to excitedly tell the people who didn't know the matter. The more they talked, the more ridiculous it became. While the people hated Qi Dong and the scribe, they also admired the good official even more. He was able to see through everything. Doing a little trick and he was caught. The news spread very quickly. By the time Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan rode back to the residence, the people who were working and the management staff all knew of what happened at noon. There were indeed a few who wanted to learn and do it. At this time they were all frightened. They were glad that they hadn't done it yet. They were also glad that the provincial governor had acted early. Otherwise, when they learned and did it, there would be no chance for regret. Zhang Zhong also heard of this matter. He really didn't know that there was someone who falsified the accounts. After understanding the details, he sighed for Qi Dong. This was a bad idea. The falsification of the accounts reached Xiaobao. This was purely courting death. The accounts of the family were all managed by the son. There were countless transactions and it was very easy for him to manage. A mere deputy county magistrate dared to falsify the accounts for his son. Qidong was not escorted to Zhang Zhong's residence. Instead, he was directly escorted back to the residence. No one beat him. He was also not locked up in a cell. Instead, he was locked up in the woodshed and thrown into a corner. He was left alone. He was locked up until nighttime. No one came to bring him food or water. The weather was hot and the woodshed was stuffy. After being locked up for half a day, he was a little exhausted. The main reason was not physical problems but psychological pressure. He didn't know how he would be judged. He also didn't know what his family would do when they heard the news. He spent the whole afternoon thinking about what went wrong. The most clear thing was that the salt that people ate and boiled did not match. However, if it was just checking the accounts, it might not be found out. Unless there was a shrewd person who came to check. Could it be that a commoner could calculate it? Moreover, it was deliberately arranged here. Was it related to the provincial governor? He didn't know that it was because he had made the accounts too detailed and considered too many things. There was also a slight loophole. This was troublesome, especially when it came to firewood. Even if he didn't record it, Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't say anything. Different wood and different cooking methods used different amounts of firewood. Firewood was not valuable, so it was fine if he didn't record it. However, he had written down the amount of firewood used by others. It was purely superfluous. Who knew what he would think if he understood? Xiaobao, are you just going to lock him up like this? How long will he be locked up? I'm afraid his body can't take it. After returning to the residence, Wang Wan glanced in the direction of the woodshed and asked Zhang Xiaobao. Give him some water at night. As for going to the toilet, he will find a way himself. Otherwise he will have to endure it. When he understands why we didn't beat him and what he should do, then let him go. For the first 3 days we can only give him water. He won't die. Chapter 452. When it was a cloudy day at the beach in summer, the sea breeze would bring along the moisture of the sea. The closer one was to the beach, the more uncomfortable their skin would feel. Even if one didn't do any exercise, they would still feel stuffy. Furthermore, the sweat that came out of their bodies would feel hot to the outside, but when they touched their arms they would feel cold. At this time, the best way to relieve the heat was to take a shower with warm water. Never use cold water. One person would easily get sick while the other would feel even hotter after this. If the conditions at home allowed it, then they would dig a swimming pool. It was convenient and fast. They could dive in and come out and it would be cool. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan repeated this action. It was good to have an artesian well. After a flood, they didn't know what happened underground. The water in the artesian well could actually shoot up more than 10 feet high. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't investigate this phenomenon. Instead, they made use of the fountain and built a large pool. They didn't even need a swimming pool. They dug a river and connected it to the river 3 li away. No one objected. Compared to the original provincial governor Shi, it could be said that the difference was like heaven and earth. In the entire manor, other than the front area for official business, the back area was designed into a garden by the two of them. 2-story bamboo buildings stood there. There were ponds, small lakes, all kinds of pavilions, corridors and canals in the surrounding areas. They also raised some fish and planted flowers. Newcomers would get lost in this garden. Unfortunately, there weren't that many villagers who came to play. Even if they opened the door at the back of the manor and posted a notice for the commoners' children to come and play, no one came. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan spent a lot of effort to design the original courtyard into a children's playground with a small wooden house, a slide, a swing, a seesaw, and a water carousel. However, because no one came, it became a decoration. Only Li Sun, the older child, came to play from beginning to end. Then, the three of them sat in the pool that was less than 2 feet deep, staring at the fake fish carved out of wood in a daze. At noon today, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally couldn't stand the sultry weather. It looked like it was going to rain, but there was no wind. For the whole morning, not a single drop of rain fell. They were too close to the beach and their bodies were wet and sticky. They asked someone to guard the door of the fountain and jumped in to soak. Underground water was indeed different. It was bone-chilling. After soaking in it for a while, it would come out and warm up. It was a little addictive. It's been 2 days. Qidong has been locked up for 2 days. After a while it will be 3 days. He has been drinking water all this time. Should we send him some food? He must be feeling terrible today. Wang Wan finally stopped feeling stuffy. She shook her wet hair and reminded Zhang Xiaobao. There's no rush. We'll see tomorrow. If you still can't figure out what to do, just give him something to eat. I think a steamed bun a day should be enough. What's the reaction of Lu Shaoqing and the others? Send someone to ask them later. Zhang Xiaobao estimated that as long as Qi Dong had enough water and didn't commit suicide, he wouldn't die in a short time. On the contrary, he was more concerned about Lu Xiaoqing and the others. He didn't get any information today, so he didn't know how the division plan was going. When the two people's hair was almost dry, the person who went to inquire finally came back. Little master, little miss, nothing happened. The four of them have been in their own houses for the past 2 days. Although they are close to each other, they don't have much contact. The servants in their houses seem to have become well-behaved. Even if they meet every day, they just don't talk. They haven't fought. The person who inquired about the news came back to report. Hearing this news, Zhang Xiaobao was satisfied and said, "It's good that things are stable. Otherwise, if they fight again, the hatred that was accumulated with great difficulty will be released. Small conflicts are easy to solve. Only when the accumulation reaches a certain level, will it be uncontrollable and continue to the next step." Lu Xiaoqing was still in a worrying situation. His subordinates had tried their best to catch prawns, but the amount was far from enough. There were only 100 jars. If they could get all the prawns caught by the other 3 families, it might be enough. But now, Zhang Zhong had ordered people to spread the news that a jar of prawn sauce would be sold for 10 strings of coins. There were a dozen or so people who happened to have a jar in their houses and had already gone to exchange it for money. The 4 families were catching prawns and waiting to sell them when they were ready. They originally wanted to see if any other people were catching prawns and buy some at a high price. In the end, all the people were busy. Some were digging the river, some were building houses, and some fishermen had already joined the Zhang family's fishing business. There were less than 20 days left. Even if it was heated manually, it would take a long time. If there were no more prawns, they would have to wait to lose money. We gathered for profit, so why should we complain about profit? If there is wealth in the dynasty, we will leave without profit. Sigh. Good move, Zhang Zhong. Oh Zhang Zhong, what a good move to sow discord. You clearly saw through it, but you couldn't avoid it. Lu Xiaoqing sat there. It was unknown whether it was the gloomy weather that made his mood bad, or he suddenly thought it through. He muttered a few words to himself. He wasn't the only one who understood. Chao Hurui also knew that this was Zhang Zhong's plan. But even if he knew about the plan to sow discord, he had to jump into the trap in order to be able to pay off the debt as soon as possible. How could he not earn 10 strings of coins for a jar of prawn sauce? Chao Hurui found a reason for himself when he betrayed and felt a little better. Master, good news. Master, the price of prawn sauce has increased again. The Zhang family's people came out and said that a jar of prawn sauce is 15 strings of coins. Pickled vegetable store will only accept 1,000 jars of prawn sauce. Master, hurry up and make it. Chao Hurui's servant hurriedly ran in and happily told his master, who was sitting in the middle of the courtyard and feeling a little better, what he saw just now. 15 strings of coins? Tell those 30 people who only know how to drink to do their jobs properly. They can't be delayed. Chao Hurui's heart was beating a little faster and a little unsteadily because of this news. He knew that those 30 people ate and drank well in the Zhang family and rarely helped out. It was fine if it was in the past, but not now. Money. Time was money. The Zhang family gave them a high salary. If they really worked hard, they could make 2 jars of prawn sauce with the salary of 1 person a day. They would only accept 1,000 jars of prawn sauce. This promise was made. For the sake of their reputation, the Zhang family would not go back on their word. 30 people would make 60 jars a day. 600 jars in 10 days. How much money would that be? 9,000 strings of coins. They would still have money left after paying back all the money. The servant hurriedly ran over and hurriedly left after receiving the order. When the news of 15 strings of coins for a jar was released, some of the people were tempted. They wanted to catch prawns to make prawn sauce in their free time. However, Zhang Zhong posted another notice saying that he was going to build a seawall to prevent typhoons and tidal waves from destroying the houses. When the people were given a choice between money and Zhang Zhong, most of them chose Zhang Zhong. Only a small number of them chose money. When it was their turn to work, they did not work hard. When they were resting, they would go catch prawns. For 2 days in a row, a small number of people did not work hard. This made Zhang Zhong feel a little sad. He had done so much for Lu Zhou. Under the circumstances where he was not forced, his words could not be compared to that little bit of money. The people who had just destroyed their homes and those who did not want to face the disaster. This is human nature. Never think of others as how they should be. Who can you blame for that? This notice is a touchstone. Yes, between heaven and hell, the outcome is decided when you make the choice. Those who don't work hard are not needed from tomorrow onwards. Let's catch prawns. When Zhang Xiaobao received the news, he did not look sad at all. He only felt sad for those people. 15 strings of coins for a jar of prawn sauce. Prawn sauce? They were all waiting for a pie to fall from the sky. Wang Wan also felt that it was not worth it for those who chose to catch prawns. There was no such thing as 15 strings of coins. It was all a scam. Apart from the pickling line, the fishing line was almost done. Many people thought that the pickling line belonged to the Zhang family and the fishing line belonged to the Zhang family. Therefore, the prawn sauce they received was not from the Zhang family. They were too naive. Various industries shared shares and settled accounts separately. Even if that was not the case, they could just find someone to buy the prawn sauce from the fishing line and sell it to the pickling line. At that time, those who wanted to cry would cry and those who wanted to laugh would laugh. They would be able to see the various forms of life again. If the wind does not blow, the leaves will fall. If the water does not ripple, the fish will live. If the heart is not calm, there is nothing to be done. The sky is cloudy and there are many floating clouds. Wang Wan missed Zhuangzi, where the Zhang family and the Wang family lived. There were not many worries there. Every time the farmers made a choice, they would listen to the master, and the master had never disappointed them. Help, help. I know what to do. Help. Bang, bang. I know what to do. Help. Xiaobao, did you hear something? Wang Wan suddenly heard someone shouting for help. Zhang Xiaobao had locked Qidong up for nearly 5 days. He finally heard something and pulled Wang Wan over. I heard it. Qidong is banging on the door. He has figured it out. Let's go and ask him what he knows. Do we need to call a guard? Wang Wan was afraid that Qidong would suddenly attack them. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand. Let's go. There is no need to call a guard. He ate a steamed bun yesterday and has been drinking water for the past few days. Who do you think he is? Without salt, a steamed bun can heal him. His legs are still tied. Help. I know what to do. I will do whatever you want me to do. I can even fake the accounts. I can't take it anymore. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived outside the woodshed, they heard Qidong's weak voice. You don't say he's really smart. He knows how to do what he's told. Wang Wan praised. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled. How many fools would be willing to spend so much effort to fake the accounts? Let's have a good chat with him. The two of them stood outside the door of the firewood shed. Qidong, who was inside, noticed that the crack in the door was dark. He peeked out with one eye and immediately said happily, Young master, young lady, quickly tell His Excellency. I understand what His Excellency means. I will listen to him. Chapter 453. The news of Qidong being exiled spread. Only a few people knew that he had been exiled, but not many knew where he had been exiled to. Many people did not know where would be more suitable than Lingnan to be exiled. In short, this person was no longer in Luzhou. Even his family had left with him, making it impossible for those who wanted to find him. With such an example, all the people in charge became obedient. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that things were on track, he and Wang Wan led the 56 members of the No. 0 protection team to train. This time, the place they chose was a little far from the state capital. They were going to enter the 100,000 mountains to hunt for prey. The most important thing was to train the guards to fight in the jungle. Zhang Xiaobao was personally in charge of this. Although Wang Wan was trained in martial arts, she was not as good as Zhang Xiaobao when it came to fighting in the jungle. Zhang Xiaobao had learned a thing or two in prison when he was in China. When he was abroad, he specially found a place with a lot of jungles to train hard. The instructors he hired were all people from the special forces. There were people from various countries and each country had its own characteristics. This was especially true when they entered Africa, which was still in turmoil. Some of those people had even lived in the jungle since they were young. This allowed Zhang Xiaobao to learn a lot, even though he was not as good as the experts who had lived in the jungle for most of their lives. With such a good thing happening, Li Sun also came to join in the fun. When he knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were going to bring people to the mountains, he deliberately prepared his backpack, which was filled with the things he used to train in the wilderness. He also made sufficient preparations for the 50 guards he was going to bring this time. Each of them had a backpack. However, when he met up with Zhang Xiaobao and the others at the entrance, he found that they did not have any backpacks at all. They were wearing different clothes, which were yellow and green. There were many pockets on their bodies and there were some things stuffed in them. It did not look like much, and each of them was holding a black machete in their hands. There was nothing else, not to mention that he was carrying a crossbow. Xiaobao, that's not right. Where's the backpack? Why didn't you prepare it? Don't you have to organize everything in advance to survive in the wilderness? What are you going to eat when the time comes? Li Sun asked Zhang Xiaobao. Who said that we have to prepare everything in advance to survive in the wild? If I give you time to prepare, you can do it. If you don't have time, where will you go to prepare? Just like that, we put on the leg bindings and set off. We have to hurry all the way. This place is 320 li away from the mountain. The requirement is that we reach it in 3 days and 2 nights, which is 30 hours. Young Master Li, when you can't run anymore, you can ride with me in Cuckoo. Zhang Xiaobao began to put on the leg bindings. Li Sun didn't say anything. He waved to the people behind him, and the guards of the Wang mansion also began to put on the leg bindings. Li Sun also trained them normally, learning from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The 50 people who were selected listened to the distance and estimated the time. They felt that this was an impossible task. After the leg bindings were done, the people of the protection team put their swords behind their backs, warmed up their legs a little, and stood in 2 rows to start running. Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Li Sun followed behind the 56 people. There were more than 10 horses beside them, and they also ran with them. Li Sun's guards were at the back so that the 3 people in the middle would not be in danger. This time Li Sun also understood. It seemed to be different from the survival in the wild in the past. When he was running, he could still keep up at the beginning, but he didn't dare to speak. He adjusted his breathing and pace using the method he learned from Zhang Xiaobao. This kind of speed was acceptable for adults, but it was a little difficult for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The 2 of them used a quarter of an hour to run nearly 7 miles. They left the team and jumped on their horses. This kind of speed was too slow for adults. They ran more than 3 kilometers in 15 minutes. However, for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, this was already the limit. Even if the 2 of them had been training very seriously and constantly improving themselves, they couldn't run further, let alone reduce their speed to less than 3 minutes per kilometer. They couldn't even vomit blood. Moreover, they could only persist for such a long distance, and it was on the road that had been repaired. This had already frightened Li Sun. He followed the team's speed, but he couldn't continue after running for 3 miles. He sat on the horse at the side and panted. He regretted carrying a backpack. The things inside were very heavy. The guards of the prince's mansion were not relaxed either. Not only did they carry backpacks, but they also carried knives and crossbows. It was very heavy. However, the people of the Sprout Protection Team could persist. They usually had to carry weights during their training. Now that they didn't carry weights, it was naturally not so tiring to run. Slow down. Don't run so fast. I'll let you run for a quarter of an hour to feel comfortable without weights. Do you really think you can keep running? You can run 7 miles in a quarter of an hour, 28 miles in 2 hours. Can you run 140 miles in 10 hours? Today you have to run for 14 hours, 100 miles. Adjust yourselves. Rest in the middle is also included. Wang Wan, who was on the horse, saw that the people of the Sprout Protection Team were in a frenzy. They were preparing to compete with the prince's mansion's guards on foot. She quickly shouted for them to slow down. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do anything else after running for 2 hours at this speed. Wang Wan knew in her heart that 100 miles in 14 hours was not a lot. When she looked at historical materials in the past, the People's Liberation Army's fastest forced march could run 100 miles in 14 hours. They also had to carry heavy weapons and ammunition with them. They could go into battle after a little rest. They were inhuman existences. It was also at that time that she decided to enter the military academy. This time, it was 320 miles. In fact, it was similar to the 345 miles in the other world. In 2.5 days they should be able to carry 3 days' worth of food, a knife, rope, and salt that didn't take up much weight. Should be very easy. The people of the Sprout Protection Team were used to the doctrine that military orders were absolute. When they heard the young lady's words, they immediately began to adjust themselves. The prince's mansion's guards had been suppressed just now. Now that there was a chance, they rushed up and ran in front of the Sprout Protection Team. Li Sun originally wanted them to slow down. But after thinking for a while, he felt that it was better to let them run. When they couldn't run anymore, he would take care of them properly in case it happened again in the future. Come on, hurry up, overtake their boat. Overtake one more boat. There are more in front. In the canal from Chuzhou to Hangzhou, a boat with full sail was moving fast all the way. Perhaps it felt that this speed was not fast enough. The wheels on both sides of the boat were also rotating. At the same time, the back of the boat turned over at the same time. Xan Air stood at the bow of the boat and shouted excitedly. The guards next to her didn't know what "come on" meant. When they heard her shout, they asked curiously, "Young lady, what do you mean by come on? Don't you know how to come on?" Xiaobao and Cuckoo sometimes shout like this. The propeller at the back needs to be turned like an axle. It needs some oil, otherwise it won't be able to turn. So you have to come on. Air explained to the guards seriously. At this time, the boat overtook another boat, which made the people on the boats look sideways. They didn't know where the boat came from. It was so fast. When they saw the rice seedlings on the flag, they knew that it was a boat from between the clouds and the water, the kind that could easily travel the sea. The human-powered propeller below had been working for 6 hours, but it was still not broken. The things made by the Ministry of Works were indeed better than those made by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's family. The ones made by the Zhang family usually didn't dare to use, as they had a backup plan. Usually, it was good enough to guarantee that they could keep the propeller running for 2 hours. Although the propeller was not as fast as the one that burned diesel, or rather, it couldn't be compared at all. The speed of rotation was slow, and it didn't work even if lever was used. However, for a boat at this time, it had some effect if the sail and wheels were used together. Today there was a good wind, so they could sail at full speed. Air wanted to reach the destination early, and the old man also wanted to see how it looked like when the boat was at full speed. The wheels on both sides started to rotate, and the propeller below also started to rotate. The boat overtook all the way like this. Some boats were not convinced, so they used both the sail and the oars to compete, but they were left behind even more. Quick, quick, there are 2 more boats. They are overtaking them too. Her clothes fluttered in the wind. Felt very happy today. She jumped and screamed, scaring the people who were protecting her. The 2 boats didn't seem to want to be overtaken, so they also rowed with all their might. However, the distance between the 2 boats was constantly closing. After a while, the boat caught up to the tail of one of the boats. No one knew what the people on the 2 boats were thinking, but suddenly, the boat in front of them started to turn to the side and slow down. If the boat still followed the original route, it would definitely hit the side of the boat. Even if it was an ordinary boat now, it couldn't change the direction. Even if the sails were lowered and all the oars were leveled, it would still be useless. The old man stood on the deck and scolded, "Whose boat is so arrogant? You want to risk your life? Lower the sails, stop the propellers, reverse the 2 wheels and put up a stick." Following the old man's order, the sails quickly lowered, and the propellers behind also stopped. The people on both sides of the boat began to struggle to stop the pedals under their feet. Then they began to reverse the pedals. The axles of the wheels on both sides of the boat made a squeaking sound. A few holes on the first floor of the boat were pulled open, and a thick piece of wood stretched out from the holes. The old man took out his clairvoyance and looked at the boat in front of him. He wanted to know who was on the boat, but he couldn't see it from the stern. Even if the boat in front of him turned a little and made preparations to intercept, he still couldn't see the front deck. The ship finally slowed down as its 2 wheels reversed. However, it did not completely stop, let alone reverse. Just as it was about to collide with the ship suddenly reversed its direction and accelerated again, leaving the ship behind. The old man now understood that the people on the boat deliberately made such movements to scare people. Thinking of this, he became angrier and ordered, "Chase after them. If they slow down again, just hit them directly." Chapter 454. Once the boat switched to the jib sail, it could go against the wind. However, there was a prerequisite, which was that the waterway in front of them was wide enough. Otherwise, if they went in a zigzag pattern, they would hit the banks on both sides. This broken canal was not very wide, so the boat could only make small adjustments. All 3 propulsion systems were at full power. Without waiting for the 2 boats in front to go far, the boat caught up. The 2 boats in front were lowering their sails, and the oars on both sides were rowing with all their might. "Rush over and see who dares to do this on the river." At the old man's command, the ship quickly rushed over and retracted the stick that extended out from the first floor. Turning around, the other stick that was wrapped in iron stretched out. This was something thought up by someone from the ordnance surveillance. The purpose was not to get the other boat into the water, unless it extended from below. However, that would also get their own boat into the water. From this height, if the enemy boat was a little shorter, then this stick could directly reach the deck of the other party, sweeping left and right, causing the other party to be flustered. If the enemy boat was also high, then it could knock a hole in the other boat in an instant. Throwing things that could burn to create some trouble, then turning around was to minimize the damage when colliding with their own people. The 2 boats seemed to want to do the same thing again. The boat in front of Wei Wei turned to the side, but this time the old man was determined to hit it. The people on the front deck had already retreated to a safe position, but the boat did not slow down in the slightest as it rushed over. With this kind of posture, the people on the boat in front were the first to panic. They had no choice but to turn the boat back, but this turn was a little slower, and the stick still hit the hull of the boat. After the sound of wood shattering, the position of the intercepting boat changed, but there were 4 large holes left on the hull of the boat. They were very irregular holes, and there were also thick wooden planks protruding out. After a while, the old man came out of the cabin and took out his clairvoyance to look at the deck of the other party. The people beside him also stood at the side of the boat and shouted, "Who are you? How dare you block the boat of Enchanting Guanglu?" The bodyguard shouted confidently, but the other side did not dare to answer. Enchanting Guanglu Dafu was a lower-class, third-rank official. Don't look at how the old man had already resigned from the upper-class, third-rank official. He was still an official and he had a 5th-rank noble title. Therefore those who knew him did not dare to underestimate him. The people on the boat obviously knew what kind of official this was. No one came out to say anything. When the old man was about to let people board the boat, a person stood out and said, "Is that Minister Bai, Sir Bai? It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. We accidentally bumped into each other and didn't manage to turn the rudder over. We are from the Ning family of Qin province, please forgive us." The Ning family of Qinzhou? Well, tell them we got it. Let's go. When the old man heard that they were from the Ning family, he naturally thought of the provincial governor of Qin province. If they were to meet again in the future, he would let them off this time. Otherwise he would impeach him. The bodyguard shouted a few words and the boat overtook them. As for the damaged area, no one mentioned it. Not only was the other party's boat damaged, the hole in the wooden plank was also torn open. The old man deliberately checked it and said, "Today we bumped into each other today. Otherwise, if we were to wait for the war to start and damage ourselves, we wouldn't have time to repair it. In a while, 2 people will go down to the military station and report this matter to the Ministry of Works. Let them think of a solution. As for whether it's wrapped in iron or thickened, that's their problem. Grandfather, isn't Qin province near where we are going? Is it near the sea? I have never seen what the sea looks like. It must be. Otherwise they wouldn't have a boat." Exan who was beside them, also heard this and said with a yearning look. Only then did the old man realize. When did the Ning family of Qin province have a boat? Moreover, it was a big boat with sails and oars. After thinking about it carefully, the old man understood. He chuckled and said to his granddaughter, "Exan this is all thanks to your Uncle Zhang's family. Ever since they have a big boat to make money, other people will also be tempted. Ning family can also enter the sea over there. They just need to pass the Qin River. The Ning family also has business in other places. They must have sent people here to spread the news. That's why they bought 2 boats. They must have a lot of valuable things on them. They should also copy the Zhang family's fleet and sail close to the sea. With the 2 boats, the money they earn can buy another big boat. It's good that Ning family thinks this way. If their boat wants to go back, they will have to pass through Luzhou's Bay. Didn't the Zhang family's map show that Qin province collects tolls from them? I know, Grandpa. After selling the goods on their 2 boats, they definitely won't be able to buy another boat. Luzhou will also collect tolls from them. Unless they don't go to the Qin River and stop at another shore and change to the land route, they won't be able to earn enough money to buy a boat. It's very troublesome to travel by land. Xiaobao and Cuckoo just put the map of Luzhou's game in the map book. They are surrounded by mountains. If they want to travel by land, they will have to cross the mountains. It's a waste of money and time. Grandpa, let's go quickly. When we get there, tell Xiaobao and Cuckoo to send their boats. If 18 boats collide with 2 boats, they will definitely sink. Exan didn't wait for her grandpa to finish speaking. She also thought about the situation over there. She was good at games and knew how to read the map. As long as someone told her where he had played the game before, she could roughly imagine the situation over there. This might be one of the benefits of playing games. Perhaps it was because she played games, but Exan treated this as a game. She analyzed the business and military aspects of the game and prepared to use military means to destroy the 2 boats. The old man looked at his granddaughter and knew that she was a gamer. Sometimes she couldn't even tell the difference between reality and games. This was especially true last month. His granddaughter took out the money she had saved with great difficulty to do business. After she earned more than 30 strings of coins, she became even more obsessed with games. Fortunately, this game sometimes required a lot of knowledge. The more difficult the game was, the more knowledge would be required. If she didn't have the ability, she would just play a lower difficulty game. Enchanting's business was simple. She sold local specialties, local handicrafts, and maps. She was playing a game of dice when she hit a lucky spot. It happened to be a fork in the map. She would have won if she continued to play, but the lucky spot said that her little character had no sense of direction and couldn't find the road. She had to turn around and go back. She followed the rules and turned around for the little character. There happened to be a shop next to it that sold everything but maps. So she took out the money she had saved and hired the students of the academy to draw dozens of maps of Sanshui County. She marked the important places on the maps. Then she used the rest of the money to buy some local specialties and handicrafts in the market and arranged for people to sell them. The price was 5 times the cost. She didn't say that some people were also bad at directions. They couldn't find the place and had to ask others. It was very difficult. Those who had some money didn't care about the cost of a map. Plus, they also bought the local specialties and handicrafts. They looked at the map while appreciating the other 2 things. In just half a month, she made 30 strings of cash, which was left after she took the initiative to pay the tax. Originally, no one asked her to pay the tax, but she insisted that she couldn't break the rules. The old man was stunned at that time. Playing a game allowed his granddaughter to make money. He didn't care about the amount of money. The main thing was that this game could let the children be exposed to new things. Although they could make money in the game and lose money in real life, the idea of the game could enlighten the children. He didn't know if the game missed something or deliberately omitted something, but there was no incident of selling maps in the game. Similarly, there was no value of maps. It was this flaw that made his granddaughter find a business opportunity. The old man thought about what happened at that time. The happiness of the family, the happiness of the servants, and the praise of others did indeed change the mood. Although the status of a businessman was not high, no one would use this to judge a little girl who was less than 10 years old. At this time, when he heard his granddaughter's analysis, he still acted militarily and quickly said, "Enchanting, you can't crash into other people's boats. This isn't a game. You have to use the same method to defeat them. Think about it carefully. Forget about the military for now." The old man felt that this was a little difficult. He didn't think of it himself and his granddaughter couldn't think of it at the moment. This was a good way to stop his granddaughter from anxiously urging the boats to go faster. Unexpectedly, just as he finished speaking, Enchanting thought of a solution. "Grandpa, the business method is very simple. As long as we have enough capital and enough boats, we can make the Ning family suffer losses. In business there are 2 ways to say it, smuggling and dumping. Even if they seal off Qingzhou, they can't seal off the surrounding areas. At that time they can send people to smuggle the same goods over. Then they can lower the price and increase the price of the local goods. This will create a false impression that the foreign goods are not as valuable as the local goods. If the Ning family is smart enough, they can use money to buy the goods that are lower in price. Then they can resell them. However, this won't work. They don't have many boats, so we can still make a small profit by lowering the price. If they want to buy all of the goods, then they might as well ship them from other places. We have many boats here and we have our own docks and shipping companies. A large amount of goods can be shipped over. If they buy all of the goods, then we can lower the price again. If we lower the price for Qingzhou and raise the price for the other provinces, wouldn't they be collecting tolls from other people? Then, when they are preparing to ship the goods to other provinces, the other provinces will also collect tolls from them. If they also use smuggling methods, then we can continue to lower the price. This is a competition of wealth. We can make them feel like this business is of little value. It's tasteless, but it's a pity to abandon it. I believe that the Zhang family can definitely afford it. They have many boats and it's convenient to transport goods. Don't underestimate this. When I was playing games with them, one of them was actually willing to pay several years' worth of profits to suppress me." The old man listened to his granddaughter's words and looked at the serious expression on his granddaughter's face when she used business methods to attack the Ning family. For a moment he didn't know what to say. Perhaps there were many loopholes in this plan, but not everyone had this kind of analytical ability, especially for such a young child. Chapter 455. The old man patted his granddaughter's head and said emotionally, "The Zhang family, this game can actually train people. You have to learn the layout of a game when you play. Otherwise, you can only play the simplest game and won't be able to improve at all. The higher the level of the game, the more important the layout is. Maybe many children can only play the simplest game, but as long as a small number of them can make it, then they will be talents in the future. This game's classification is like a staircase. Not only do you need to be flexible, but you also need to be strong. If you can't accept failure, then you can only quit. It's like a big wave washing away the sand. Those who can survive in the highest level of the game will find their own opportunities even in real life. Exanair, if you want to play, then play. If you don't understand, ask. Don't be afraid of being defeated. It's just some small characters and items. Ask Xiaobao and Cuckoo for them. Exanair, tell Grandpa, who do you usually play with? They seem to be pretty good. Let Grandpa know. Exanair had spent a lot of energy just now. For a child of her age, it was very tiring to set up a trap, and she couldn't think so thoroughly. However, she never gave up even if she lost time and time again. Indeed, she had to lose. Her opponent was too strong. At this time, she was still immersed in her calculations. When she heard Grandpa's question, she smiled and said, I know. That's why I want to go there early. I want to ask Xiaobao and Cuckoo for things. Their family is in this business, so they must have a lot of things. I want the best, carved from jade. I also want to compete with them to see who is better. Grandpa, I don't usually play with children. They can't beat me. I usually go to the Zhang family's game store and play with the people there. They're really good. It's very difficult to force a tie. It's not bad if I can win 3 out of 10 times. Usually I win 2 times. Recently, I've played a few hundred times, but I haven't won once. I only tied 6 times. I played with Song Jinggong at the little Luoshui pier. He seems to know many patterns. As long as I use them, it will be fine. However, I can't figure out the patterns. It seems different, but when I think about it carefully, I lose in the same place. I'm analyzing these patterns. After I learn them, I can use them in real life. He doesn't know how to go easy on me. When I see Xiaobao and Cuckoo, I'll say more bad things about him. When the old man heard his granddaughter say that she went to the store to compete, he knew that his granddaughter couldn't win. How could the people there be defeated so easily? When he heard that she could win 2 or 3 times out of 10 rounds, he was proud of his granddaughter. She was indeed a little rich girl who could earn 30 strings of cash. When he heard that she couldn't win a single round even after playing a few hundred rounds, he suddenly had the urge to know who that person was and pull him to his side. That person was really capable. When he found out that it was Song Jinggong, the old man felt that his granddaughter should be shown to the 2 masters of the Zhang family when they arrived at the place. Song Jinggong was the person the Zhang family left behind to oversee the 2 counties' businesses, including the shipyard and the shipyard. How many businesses of the Zhang family had passed through his hands? What kind of person was he? He could be said to be a business genius. When the Zhang family didn't care, he had to hold up the sky by himself. After the Zhang family left, all the money-making methods were thought up by Song Jinggong himself. Who didn't want to rope him in? Unfortunately, no matter who tried to rope him in, it was useless. One only needed to ask around a little to know that he had lost to the masters of the Zhang family. He had lost wholeheartedly. When others praised him as a business genius, he would always shake his head with a bitter smile and say to the person praising him, "You will never know how powerful that person is." With him around, no one in the Tang Empire dares to challenge him. My little idea is nothing. I am so tired after scheming once, but to that person, it is as easy as blowing off dust. If you want me to join you, then don't expect me to give you advice on the same business as the Zhang family. I don't dare. I see that I have grown up a little. Everyone understood the first part of the sentence. That was, Song Jinggong was afraid of that person from the Zhang family. He didn't even have the courage to fight back. However, the last part was that he had grown up again. No one could understand what had scared Song Jinggong so much when he talked about joining other forces. The old man didn't know either, but he knew Song Jinggong's ability. His granddaughter was able to tie with him for 6 out of a few hundred rounds. This was already amazing. Song Jinggong had always been in contact with business. He had probably been taught by the masters of the Zhang family. He actually knew several business models. How many children of his granddaughter's age could tie with him for 6 out of a few hundred rounds? Thinking of that, the old man felt a little sorry for his granddaughter. That would definitely be played on the highest level map. The rules would also change accordingly. How tired would his granddaughter be when she played? Thinking of this, the old man hugged his granddaughter tightly, kissed her, and asked, "XNR, were you tired when you played against young Master Song?" XNR took a deep breath, nodded, and said, "Grandpa, it was not enough to describe it. I even wanted to die. Every step was calculated, and I didn't take it one step at a time. At the highest level, playing dice, the proportion of luck was very, very small. It was so small that it was almost non-existent. Sometimes, even if you knew it was a trap, you still had to jump into it. At the critical moment, you looked for a breakthrough, for that little bit of money. Otherwise, if you went around, the gap would be widened. Sometimes you had to be as still as a mountain while watching others make money. Sometimes you had to show a courageous attitude when you knew it was a trap. When playing with that damn Song Jinggong, not only did you have to worry about making money, you also had to face some pressure outside of the game. At the highest level, this game was full of traps, one after another. At the beginning, you didn't know. You were clearly making money, but as you played, you started to lose money. It was inexplicable. Grandpa, to be honest, there were a few times when I was scared and wanted to give up. But I knew that you were the Minister of Revenue, and you were in charge of money. Isn't this just a game of money? I could stand it, and I persevered in the end. That damn Song Jinggong even praised me. He said that I was a genius of the generation and asked me to play with Xiaobao and Cuckoo. If I could tie with Xiaobao in a business game and compete with Cuckoo in a military game, then he would be no match for me. Even if it was a war, as long as my soldiers were not that weak, I wouldn't have to be afraid. Oh? Is it so good to tie with Xiaobao and Cuckoo in 2 different games? Then when the time comes, I will compete with them. Xanair, it must have been hard for you. Tell Grandpa, which games did you tie with Song Jinggong? The last 10 games before we came out, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 and 10. These 6 games were all ties. Xanair shivered at the mention of those 6 games. It must have left a deep impression on her. The old man was moved again. The last 10 games, 8, 9 and 10 were all ties. It was definitely not because Song Jinggong gave in. At that time, Song Jinggong didn't know that they were leaving. He tied 3 games in a row. In other words, his granddaughter had been improving while enduring so much pressure. She wasn't afraid of losing. As long as she kept learning and improving during the process of losing, it was a gain. No, he must send his granddaughter to the Zhang family and let the experts of the Zhang family teach her. It would be a waste if he didn't find a good teacher for her. He didn't have the ability to teach her, even if he was the Minister of Revenue. The old man thought and hugged his granddaughter like he was hugging a treasure. Xanair huddled in her grandpa's arms and didn't think about the last few games. She just wanted to see Xiaobao and Cuckoo as soon as possible so that she could ask for more game items. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't know that someone was coming. Moreover, it was someone they also missed. They were still forcefully marching. At this time it was already afternoon. At noon, they hurriedly ate some food and rested for a while before the troops continued to advance. This afternoon, Li Sun's guards were no longer able to run to the front. On the other hand, the Zhang family's Team 0 was still full of energy and stamina. They kept running forward at the same speed. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would follow them for a while when they rested. They did everything according to their physical conditions. They never showed off. They knew that their bodies were still young and they needed to wait. When they were 15 or 16 years old, they believed that no one could be better than them except for some people with good stamina. Xiaobao, do you need to take a break? Look at our people, they are already a little absent-minded. Wang Wan sat on the horse and followed them. When she saw that Wei Wei closed the eyes of the 56 people on her side, she asked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao knew that the 56 people were deliberately relaxing to save a little bit of stamina. However, this kind of relaxation meant that their stamina was about to run out. After thinking for a while, Wei Wei shook her head and said to Wang Wan, "Don't worry. Wait a little longer. Now, we have already fallen behind the guards of the Wang mansion by half a mile. Don't underestimate this half mile. This is a competition of stamina and willpower. Don't let the guards of the Wang mansion catch up. The guards of the Wang mansion can still hold on. When they can't hold on anymore, stop and rest for a while. At the same time, drink some water." Wang Wan understood as soon as she heard this. Zhang Xiaobao was helping Li Sun's guards. He wanted them to hold on and only rest when their stamina couldn't hold on anymore. In this way, some people would break through their limits slowly. They wouldn't break through while running. This would easily leave behind sequelae. There would be an imbalance between the mental and physical secretions. Thinking of this, Wang Wan nodded and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Then let's do this. When can our people find such an opportunity? Young Master Li, this time I am helping you. When the time comes, your guards will have better patience and willpower than before. As long as they follow this training, of course, we can't control them if they quit halfway." "They dare. I want to see who will quit halfway," Li Sun said. Chapter 456. Rest on the spot for an hour. Drink water and eat. 2 people in a group and massage each other. Wang Wan felt that it was almost time. Some of the guards of the prince's mansion were already staring blankly in front of them. This situation showed that they no longer cared about other things and only kept the thought of alternating their feet. At this time, if there was a pit or something in front of them, they would definitely fall. The guards of the prince's mansion were indeed not ordinary. Their physical functions had reached the limit and they were holding on with their willpower. With Wang Wan's order, the 56 people changed from running to strolling. They walked around Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and took out water to sip. Some of the guards of the prince's mansion were still running forward and were stopped by others. Some bent over and retched, some covered their faces with their hands because of discomfort, and more lay there, gasping for breath while facing the sky. Only then did Li Sun know that the training methods he usually learned were not enough. After running for this distance, the difference between the two was obvious. He said to the guards, "Run, continue to run so fast and show off. Are you not convinced? Do you want to suppress the people of the vigorous protection team? In terms of fighting, they are not as good as you. But they are specially trained for this. You don't know your enemy. In the future, be smarter. Don't be silly and use your weakness to compete with others' strength. Can you win? Get up later and continue to run. You can run slowly but you can't stop." In fact, the guards of the prince's mansion were not in the mood to listen to what the little prince said. They all wanted to die. From inside to outside, from top to bottom, there was no place that was not uncomfortable. The people of the protection team first adjusted their bodies, drank some water, ate a little jerky and then massaged each other. After lying down for a quarter of an hour, they got up and began to help the guards of the prince's mansion. 6 people were on guard and 50 people gave one-to-one massages. It might not be noticeable if the members of the protection team had made any progress in other aspects, but they were getting more and more skilled in massaging. The guards of the prince's mansion groaned in pleasure. Even those who had a headache due to lack of oxygen earlier also relaxed. Some even fell asleep. After pressing for 15 minutes, there was still 15 minutes left before the end of the break. The guards of the prince's mansion no longer wanted to get up. They just wanted to lie down and sleep. It would be even better if someone continued to massage them. However, they knew that it was just a thought. No one dared to not get up. They all took out water and food to replenish themselves. At this moment, a few cars came from the front. They stopped in front of the crowd. There was a rice sprout logo on the cars, which made them feel slightly relieved. As soon as the car door opened, more than a dozen doctors came out of the car and ran to the front to take the pulse of more than 100 people here. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were no exception. They also let the doctors take a look. "How is it? Who can't do it?" Li Sun asked with concern. It seemed like he was the only one who couldn't do it. "They're all fine. 12 of them still need to rest for half an hour." The leader was a medical doctor. He summarized the opinions of the other doctors and gave a suggestion. "Then why don't you rest a little longer?" Li Sun turned to Xiaobao. "No need. We'll leave when it's time. Half an hour will be enough. It seems that we can't complete the journey today. Get up and move around." Zhang Xiaobao didn't want them to lie down and rest. After they finished resting, they couldn't move anymore. As soon as half an hour was up, everyone continued to move forward. The backpacks of the guards of the prince's mansion were put on the backs of the horses. The people of the protection team were still so relaxed. When the guards of the prince's mansion started to hurry, they were a little sore all over. After walking for a while, they felt a little better and gradually sped up. They also knew that it was because of their team that they slowed down and embarrassed the little prince. The group of people trotted when they had a little strength and walked when they were tired. When they ran, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would run for a while and then ride a horse. When they walked, they could get down and continue to follow. When it was dark, they rested for another half an hour and then continued their journey. The dampness and coolness of the night made them feel more energetic. When it was midnight, they took a collective rest under the command of Wang Wan. They found some branches from the roadside and weeds that were washed everywhere by the flood. After lighting a few bonfires, everyone began to eat. This is the real survival in the wild. It's like risking your life. Li Sun said with squinted eyes while eating the cooked porridge and pickled vegetables. He seemed to be able to fall asleep at any time. Compared with the survival in the wild that he had organized before, this kind of speed was the real speed of war. The people of the protection team chewed very fast when eating, but the real time they took was almost the same as the guards of the prince's mansion. After eating, they began to teach the guards of the prince's mansion how to pick up water bubbles. After walking for such a long time, it was impossible for the guards of the prince's mansion to be fine. Except for the people of the protection team. They had received more than a year of training to stand in line, swim, and hurry on the road. They did not have the skills to fight in battle, so they were very clear about some body adjustments. This was also the plan of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The skills to fight in battle could be trained later. There was no danger now, so the most important thing was to lay a good foundation. After picking up the water bubbles, they began to apply the medicine, which made the guards of the prince's mansion break out in a cold sweat. The medicine was good, but it was impossible for the flesh to not hurt when it touched other things. Seeing this situation, Wang Wan said unhappily, "It seems that it won't take 2.5 days. It will take 3 days. When we arrive, we also need to rest for 2 days." Li Sun knew that Wang Wan was talking about his guards affecting their speed. He could not say anything and could only eat silently. He also knew that the water bubbles would get worse if he did not pick them up, but it would be very painful if he picked them up, especially when they were hurrying on the road. "Xiaobao, I'm really sorry. My people have slowed you down." Li Sun apologized to Zhang Xiaobao. Although he said so, he was very happy in his heart. He understood that it was fortunate that he followed these 2 people out. Otherwise, he would not know that the guards were lacking in this aspect. The water bubbles were nothing. They could just pick them up. When they came back, the 50 people would not have to worry about rushing on the road. There would be enough calluses on their feet. They could also learn some things that they did not know before. The only regret was that they did not bring all 200 people with them. They could only train them after they came back. They could learn a little bit. Zhang Xiaobao was proficient in many kinds of psychology. How could he not know what Li Sun was thinking? If it were him, he would also have the same plan. After hearing Li Sun's words, he said angrily, "That's enough. Don't pretend to be obedient after getting benefits. At this time there is no such thing as a burden. When it is time to fight for our lives, we will naturally give up. The mission is first. You won't understand even if I explain it to you now. But your guards are really too bad. They are damaging the reputation of the Tang Empire. We are not bad. We are just not prepared for such a long journey. When it comes to killing, we are not afraid of anyone." A guard of the prince's residence who was beside Li Sun heard and finally could not hold back and shouted. As soon as his voice fell, Wang Wan ran up and stepped on Zhang Xiaobao's body to fly up. Her feet were together in the air and kicked the guard's temple. Her toes were tight. If this kick landed, it would directly knock him out. The guard's reaction was not slow. He tilted his head to the side and then felt a pain in his throat. He could not breathe and lost feeling in his chin. When his body fell back, he saw Zhang Xiaobao's outstretched foot. At this time, Wang Wan used her hand to grab Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder in the air and landed. She looked at the guard with disdain. Just now, she and Xiaobao did not use any weapons. Otherwise, this guard would have been a corpse. The people beside the guard immediately came over to massage the guard's back so that he could breathe. The guard coughed and looked in horror at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were standing there as if nothing had happened. The guards of the prince's residence always thought that the 2 children were very weak and took advantage of the little prince. Now they realized that things were not so simple. Just now, the 2 people did not make any discussion at all. How could they act together and cooperate so well? Li Sun was also a little confused. He had seen Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's movements when they jumped on the horse. At that time he felt that it was very amazing. But the attack just now was a little too fast. When Wang Wan jumped up with Zhang Xiaobao, he did not know how she borrowed the force. She was actually able to jump 10 feet into the air. Her movements were even more beautiful than when she jumped on the horse. Zhang Xiaobao did not even raise his head to look. After he lifted Wang Wan up, he immediately rushed over. The distance of 4 steps was closed in the blink of an eye. With one kick, just one kick, he kicked the guard down. The guard was just in time to receive Wang Wan, who was coming down from the sky. Although the guard was squatting there and had used up a lot of strength in a day, he did not have the strength to fight back against 2 children who looked 8 or 9 years old but were actually only 6 years old. "You don't know the rules. You are talking to your master. Who do you think you are? Interrupting casually? This is a march. Everything is done according to the rules of the military camp. Just wait to be beaten. Remember this first. There is a next time kill." Wang Wan scolded with a sullen face. Although her sullen face looked cute, no one was not afraid. Even Li Sun felt that Wang Wan was different from before at this moment. She was like a general who commanded thousands of soldiers and horses. That kind of temperament that combined identity and ability made people absent-minded. Only Zhang Xiaobao was indifferent. He knew that Wang Wan's aura did not come from the child herself. It was caused by the 56 people who stood behind Wang Wan and reacted quickly. Li Sun glared at the guard and said, "Remember this matter. When you go back, you will be the commander of the staff. Those who know will think that you are the one who made the decision. Those who don't know will think that I deliberately arranged it. You are embarrassing me." "Little prince, I didn't bring any weapons." The guard was still unconvinced. Chapter 457. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan showed their skills, the guards of the prince's mansion also changed their previous thoughts. It was not only because the two of them worked together to defeat one person, but also because of the little prince's attitude. It was very obvious that he was on their side. If someone was blind and offended the two of them, it would easily lead to a fatal disaster. When it was time to sleep, the guards on both sides knew that they had to take turns to keep watch. No matter how tired they were, they had to get up. Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Li Sun did not need to care about this kind of thing. They just casually laid on the ground. Li Sun clearly had a blanket, but it was useless. Not only did he not use it, but he also did not allow the guards to use it. As a result, the guards had to burn the blanket, otherwise they would be tired. The guards on both sides knew that there were many mosquitoes at night, so they applied medicine to their bodies. It was not yet time to keep watch, so they seized the time to sleep. Some people could sleep, but some people could not. Lu Xiaoqing tossed and turned on the bed, feeling stuffy. He asked someone to find ice and put it in the room, but he still could not sleep. He knew that it was not because the weather was hot, and it was not because they could not make so much shrimp sauce. It was because the people who came in the evening could be considered good news. However, he had been deceived once, so he had to be vigilant enough to persuade the people who came to him to leave and come back tomorrow. He wanted to use one night to consider whether this was a trap or not. If it wasn't a trap, then it was a great thing. He didn't need to worry about the shrimp anymore. He could focus on making shrimp sauce. He could use a little trick to ferment the shrimp sauce in half a month. The taste and texture would be a little worse, but it was not important. There was no mention of texture and taste in the contract, so he could not find fault in this point. If you can make 300 jars of shrimp sauce, you are allowed to owe money first. It is just that the price is a little higher. If you can make 1 jar of shrimp sauce, you will need 3 strings of money. If you can make 1 jar of shrimp sauce, you will need 9 strings of money. If you have 100 jars, you will need 900 strings of money. Wasn't it a little uneconomical to buy only 100 jars? After completing the transaction, not only did he not earn any money, but he also lost 600 strings of coins. Now, the Zhang family's marinating shop was selling a jar of shrimp paste for 15 strings of coins. If he bought the remaining 200 jars, he would be able to earn 1,200 strings of coins. After deducting the 600 strings of coins, there are still 600 strings of coins left. The jar is no longer valuable, so it can be excluded. The salt is boiled, so it can also be excluded. It's 600 strings of coins, but in that case, it will be on credit for 2,700 strings of coins. This money has to be calculated as interest, 30%. If calculated monthly, it will be 810 strings of coins a month, and 40% for half a month, so it will be 540 strings of coins. Lu Xiaoqing muttered to himself as he lay on the couch. In the evening, a person who claimed to be from Lianzhou came with a lot of prawns. He wanted to make shrimp sauce and sell it here, but he found that many people had already started making it. The other side only accepted 1,000 jars, so he wanted to sell the prawns and buy something shipped from Beijing. The asking price was not low, and the prawns were more than 10 times the price. But who asked the people here to be short of prawns, especially himself? After some discussion, there was some result. He could buy on credit first, but he had to pay interest. Lu Xiaoqing had already been fooled once, and he was afraid that he would be fooled again. There were 2 ways to buy the prawns that could be used to make 300 jars of shrimp sauce. Lu Xiaoqing was troubled by this. First, he did not want to buy it. If he did, the money he earned would be too little. If he bought it all, then he would be able to earn more than 50 strings of coins. After deducting the interest and the money to pay the other side, he would still have to pay back half a month. Otherwise, he would continue to lose money. No, I can't buy these prawns. I have to buy more. The other side needs 1,000 jars. Here, I only have 400 jars after adding the 300 jars and my own. I have to be fast. I have to sell them first and add 200 more jars. Lu Xiaoqing sat up from the couch, turned over and opened the window. He did not care if there were mosquitoes flying in from outside. He calculated in his heart. If he bought 200 more jars, that would be 1,800 strings of coins. Half a month would be 360 strings of coins. The shrimp sauce could be sold for 3,000 strings of coins. After paying back the money, he would still have 2,640 strings of coins left. Adding the rest from before, it would be nearly 2,700 strings of coins. Only when he reached this amount would it be worthwhile. Now he was afraid that the person had already left. He had brought the prawns, and if they were bought by someone else, then he would have to consider how to make the shrimp sauce. Someone come. Lu Xiaoqing wanted to bring them here, so he shouted to the outside. When the door opened, a person came in, causing Lu Xiaoqing to be slightly stunned. He thought that it would be a servant girl, but in the end, it was the steward who ran in anxiously. Master, it's not good. The prawn seller went to Master Jiang's place and unloaded the prawns. It seems that Master Jiang agreed. What should we do? The three of them also know how to make the shrimp sauce this way. As soon as the steward came in, he reported to Lu Xiaoqing. Naturally, the steward had to help the master consider the matter thoroughly. In the evening, as soon as that person left, the steward sent someone to follow him. As a result, they received this information. How much did he buy? How much do you think Jiang Huanshe bought? Lu Xiaoqing was regretful. Why didn't he buy the prawns in the evening? No matter how many prawns that person brought, at least after he bought them, he could prepare for it the next day. He could even keep the person at home. Now it was bought by someone else. The steward knew that the master was anxious, so he said calmly, Master, don't worry. Master Jiang probably didn't buy much. I have already sent someone to watch over there. When the time comes, it will be clear. We will even know the price. Good job. You will be rewarded. When this matter is over, I will definitely reward you well. That person in your family still hasn't given you a son or a daughter. What do you think of the servant girl in the courtyard, little Yumer? Pick a good time and accept her. We can't let the family line die. Lu Xiaoqing was nervous. He felt that this steward was a good person. Since he didn't have money, then he should give it away. Wouldn't the servant girl in his family give it to whoever she wanted? In fact, the steward had long wanted to find someone outside. Not only could the person in his family not have children, but she also had a bad temper. Usually he didn't dare to let others know to avoid being laughed at. This time the master had spoken. He wanted to see if the person in his family still dared to throw a tantrum. A man should control a woman. If she didn't listen to him, he would beat her until he got the information. The steward thought and said to Lu Xiaoqing, Master, then I will go and take a look. I will come back if there is something. Go. Settle the matter. Little Yuer is waiting for you. Lu Xiaoqing waved his hand. The steward left excitedly, but he didn't immediately go to inquire about the news. Instead, he went back home to take a look. In the past, he always listened to the person in his family. If he didn't listen, she would make a fuss. Today was different. See how she would make a fuss. Not to mention that she was fat, she was always ordering people around. You're back? You haven't eaten yet, right? I asked you to send someone to watch. Why are you running around? Come in quickly. I cooked noodles for you. How many times have I told you? As a steward, you shouldn't always run around. It will be troublesome if the master can't find you when something happens. The steward had just walked to the door when he heard the woman inside speak. She opened the door and pulled him in. She pressed him to the side of the small wooden table and turned around to bring back a bowl of fish sauce on top of the bowl. The fat woman put the bowl in front of the steward and handed him a pair of chopsticks. She said, I asked someone today and found a doctor sent by the Zhang family. He gave me a prescription. I spent 2 copper coins to get the medicine. Cheap. He said that this medicine was only prescribed by the doctor. If you don't pay 50 copper coins, no one will care about you. Other than mine, there's also yours. He said that you drank too much in the past and drank too much. In the future, even if your life is better, you won't drink so much. When the time comes, the 2 of us will raise a few children. There will be a boy to carry on the family line for your family. There will also be a girl to be considerate. Hurry up and eat or you'll be sick in a while. This fish sauce is from the river that I dug up in the magistrate's office after I finished embroidering during the day. Their net may be big, so a lot of small fish will come out. Try it. In the future, when I have time, I'll go and catch some. It's good for the body. Don't you care too much? You're a woman, why do you run around all day? What's wrong with me drinking? You don't have the ability to give birth to children, yet you tell others about me drinking. Will the doctor from the Zhang family believe you? You don't know anything. You eat the medicine yourself. The master said that he wants to give little Yuer to me as a concubine. The steward slammed his chopsticks on the table and glared at her. The woman was stunned. She thought about it and said, That's good. What if I really can't do it? I'll treat little Yuer well in the future. We'll talk about it later. I'm going out. The steward became impatient listening to the woman's nagging. He didn't eat the noodles and got up to leave. The woman quickly took a set of clothes from the side and said, Change your clothes. It's hot at night. Come back and change your clothes. It's easy to get sick. Come back quickly." The steward ignored her and disappeared into the night. Chapter 458. When the person spoke, he didn't get off the horse. The Zhang family didn't care about these superficial things. At least, when there were no outsiders, they were very casual. What was the point of getting off the horse? Respect was in the heart, not on the surface. Zhang Zhong was busy. When he heard that the madam was here, he frowned and said with dissatisfaction, "Why is she here in the middle of the night? It's a mess here. Why didn't she stay at home and come here? It's troublesome." "Master, should I go back and tell the madam not to come?" The person on the horse asked. "Don't, I'll go and see for myself. I haven't been home for a few days. How can the madam go back? Come down, how can you talk to the master on a horse?" Zhang Zhong hurriedly stopped him and vented his anger on the person. The person didn't dare to say anything and got off the horse. Before he could find a place to tie the horse, Zhang Zhong pulled the reins and got on the horse. He didn't care about the person who came to report and pulled the reins. The horse turned around and ran in the direction that the person came from. The person who left the message stood there in a daze and looked at the master who was going away. After a while he shouted to the people who were watching the scene, "What are you looking at? My master is the top scholar. Not only is he good at writing, but he is also skilled in archery and horse riding. Hurry up and get to work. If there's anything you need help with, call me." Zhang Zhong urged the horse all the way. After half a quarter of an hour, he saw the madam's team. In fact, there were only 2 carriages. There were about 10 guards next to them. There was also a servant girl sitting on the shaft of the carriage, humming a song. Zhang Zhong urged the horse closer and said to the person in the carriage, "Madam, why are you here?" After saying that, he got off the horse and directly went into the carriage. There was only Jiang Wang clan and a servant girl inside. The servant girl hurriedly ran out and didn't even greet Zhang Zhong. "I missed my husband, so I came to see you. I heard from the local elders that there will be heavy rain in a few days. How are the arrangements here? It looks like you just woke up. Come, wipe your eyes. Must have been hard on you. You've also lost weight. This concubine made white fungus bird's nest soup for you. Eat it while it's still hot." Jiang Wang clan's heart ached as she looked at her man. His beard had grown long and his eyes had become dull. She took a wet towel from the side and wiped his face. Then she took out a bowl of warm soup from the food box beside her and fed him. Zhang Zhong happily ate 2 mouthfuls before saying, "Madam, it's foggy here at night and it's too humid, but you still insisted on coming over. If Xiao Bao knew, he would complain. Go over there and take a look and then come back in a while. There's nothing to do and I don't do manual labor. Madam, why do you look so pale?" It would have been better if Zhang Zhong didn't say anything. As soon as he said that, Jiang Wang clan began to retch. She vomited twice but nothing came out. She took out a few dried plums from the side drawer and put them in her mouth. She smiled like a flower and said, "My husband, I'm here to tell you good news. I'm pregnant again, but I don't know if it's a boy or a girl." Jiang Wang clan's face was full of happiness as she spoke. "You have a child? Then why did you come out for no reason? When Zhang Zhong heard that there was a child, his eyes widened. Before he could finish his words, he immediately became listless. He lowered his voice and continued speaking. "Madam, I'm afraid of you. You're pregnant, so don't go around blindly. Madam, are you afraid that I'll take the opportunity to find another woman when you're pregnant? Madam, don't worry. I, Zhang Zhong, in this life, other than you, I don't like anyone else. I know how much you've worked for me and I remember it. When Xiaoer ran away from home with a silly boy, that silly boy had already sworn that if he dared to do anything to hurt Xiaoer, he would be struck by lightning. From tomorrow onwards, I'll stay at home with Xiaoer and won't go anywhere. Let my son be busy. There are so many capable girls in the house, I don't care." Zhang Zhong thought that was the case, so he began to give his promise and decided to stay at home from tomorrow onwards. The Jiang Wang clan was most satisfied with this trait of Zhang Zhong. Even if he went out, he would not go to brothels with others. He could drink, but it was useless if others invited him. It was not that she was strict, but Xiao Bao had too many spies. Not to mention that Zhang Zhong did not have such thoughts. Even if he did, he could not do anything. The Jiang Wang clan fed him half a bowl and felt disgusted. She stuffed the bowl into Zhang Zhong's hands and said, "Eat it yourself. How old are you? Why are you waiting for others to feed you?" Zhang Zhong quickly took it and wanted to complain. "You were the one who insisted on feeding me. I didn't dare to not eat." But he held it in. After all, Madame was also feeling uncomfortable. When Madame stopped vomiting, he said, "Shower, go back later. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should think for the baby in your belly. The baby and Cuckoo are playing in the mountains. Do you think it's a boy or a girl?" The Jiang Wang clan leaned on Zhang Zhong and asked, "A girl. Give birth to a little sister for Xiao Bao, and give birth to a few little brothers in the future." Zhang Zhong thought for a while and said, "Pigs. What if it's a boy? Won't he fight with Xiao Bao for property in the future?" The Jiang Wang clan was worried again. She was not worried about Zhang Xiaobao, but she was worried about Xiao Bao's little brother. If Xiao Bao used 20% of his ability, no one else could compete with him. Zhang Zhong was the least worried about this. He chuckled and said, "Xiao, don't think about it. Why would Xiao Bao care about this little family property? If he really gives birth to a little brother, he will see if the little brother can support the family. If the little brother can, Xiao Bao will let go. With his and Cuckoo's ability, why would they care about these things?" What Fu Jun said is right. Incompetent people will fight for the family property, while capable people can earn more money by themselves. All the things in the family now are earned by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. In the past, the family was just surviving and there was not much living expenses. Xiao Bao earned so much for the family property in just a few years. How could he snatch his little brother's things? But I still think that my daughter is good. Xiao Bao is so busy these days that I can't see him all day. When he's finally done with his work, he went to the mountain with Cuckoo. "Hubby, there's another good news. My little sister is pregnant at the same time. Will it be like before, where a boy will be a brother, a girl will be a sister, and a boy and a girl will be husband and wife?" The Jiang Wang clan was relieved when she heard Zhang Zhong's words. She also told Zhang Zhong the other good news. Zhang Zhong shuddered. He looked at his wife and asked, "Will there be children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo again?" Zhang Zhong was indeed afraid. His son and daughter-in-law had already made him busy all day. Although his son and daughter-in-law were more tired, the two children could not be treated as ordinary people. From the beginning of the imperial examinations to the various places, all the decisions were made by his son and daughter-in-law. If they said that he would be the top student in the imperial examinations, then he would be the top student in the imperial examinations. If they said that he would be the top scholar in the imperial examinations, then he would be the top scholar in the imperial examinations. He could be appointed as an official wherever he went. Even the emperor could not know in advance. The two children had already made all the arrangements. They even had a detailed plan of what to do when they arrived at the place. When it came to Luzhou, the flood disrupted the plan and cost them a lot of money. But so what? When the flood happened, the plan was changed. This was called fast. When other people encountered the same disaster, they would be at a loss. However, his son and daughter-in-law were as calm as a mountain. Not only did they earn back the money they had lost, but they also earned a lot more than what they had originally planned. Zhang Zhong was worried that if there were two more children like them, what should he do then? The four of them each came up with an idea. Who should he listen to? The Jiang Wang clan was unwilling. "Husband, do you think that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are not good?" No, they are good. How can my children not be good? I'm just afraid of causing trouble." "Then I want a daughter. I'll let Xiao Bao take care of her. Let's see who dares to bully her." The Jiang Wang clan had already made up her mind. She did not care if they would really have a daughter. Yes, we have to take good care of her first. Didn't Xiao Bao and Cuckoo specially train some people like her? If others don't dare to use them, we'll use them ourselves. From tomorrow onwards, you have to do as those people say." Zhang Zhong thought of something important. His son and daughter-in-law had deliberately trained some people. From the time they were pregnant until the child was born, they had special people and methods. This included listening to music. When they were introduced to others, others did not believe them. Now that it was his turn, even if he did not trust others, he would trust his son and daughter-in-law. He had to use them. "Then, I'd like to take a look at where my husband is working." "After that, I'll go back," the Jiang Wang clan said as she chewed on another piece of sour plum. "Alright, we'll take a look. Chower, you're so disgusting. Why don't you let the doctor take a look at you?" Now that Zhang Zhong had his own power, he had more ideas. When he had Zhang Xiaobao, he did not receive such treatment. The Jiang Wang clan shook her head. "There's no need. As the saying goes, every medicine has a side effect. I don't want my daughter to be poisoned." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not know that their mother was pregnant again. When they woke up in the morning, they were still leading the group and hurrying on with their journey. At this time, the guards of the Wang mansion finally knew the consequences of rushing on with their journey yesterday. The blisters on their feet were popped. Now when they walked they felt a burning pain. However, they had to persevere. In addition to the burning pain on their feet, there was also the soreness on their bodies. Not only were their legs uncomfortable, but their arms and chests were also uncomfortable. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao naturally knew about this, but they didn't say anything. It wasn't like they hadn't experienced it before. They just had to endure it and it would be over. The two of them didn't believe that the guards of the Wang mansion couldn't even endure this bit of hardship. Sure enough, the guards of the Wang mansion were not bad. Although it was painful, after they ran they slowly got used to the pain. When they became numb, no one quit and no one shouted in pain. This made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan quite satisfied. No matter what the reason was, as long as they persevered, it was worthy of recognition. Li Sun was also happy to see the performance of his subordinates. When he ran, he also jumped back and forth and said to the guards of the Wang mansion if there was any reward when they returned. Xiaobao, it looks like it's going to rain, Wang Wan said when she and Zhang Xiaobao could not run anymore and rode on the horse. It's fine if it rains. It won't affect the people of the seedling protection team. In other words, the people of the seedling protection team will only make use of the weather and will not be affected by the weather. Chapter 459. Grandpa, we're about to reach the sea. Let's go. Why did we stop here? Xian Air, who had always wanted to reach the destination as soon as possible, woke up this morning and found the ship had stopped. She ran to her grandpa on the deck and begged him to leave as soon as possible. The old man chuckled, pulled his granddaughter to the front and said, Xian Air, don't you want to bring something for Xiaobao and Cuckoo when we get there? That's right, they had to bring something. They had to bring a gift. What kind of place was this? Chuzhou City, bring some tea. Xian Air was reminded of this by her grandpa. It was not easy to go there. How could she not bring some gifts? Tea won't work. If you send the tea balls there, they won't be able to make it in other ways. The embroidery here is good. Why don't you buy some? The old man suggested. He knew about this when he was the Minister of Revenue. The embroidery was a kind of tribute, but it also had to be handed over to the higher-ups. It was more valuable. He thought it would be more valuable in Luzhou. However, Xian Air objected this time. Grandpa, everyone knows about the embroidery in Chuzhou City. It costs as much as it cost. The local people also know about it. The price is higher. It's indeed valuable in Luzhou City, but not many people will buy it. Xian Air, tell Grandpa. Why don't people buy it? Is there a disaster? The old man asked. In fact, he really didn't know. Xian Air smiled shyly and said, it has nothing to do with the disaster. The embroidery in Chuzhou City is indeed good. People will buy it. But during the spring and summer, the embroidery that should be made has already been made and sent to various places. The rest of the embroidery is either treasured or defective. No matter what kind of embroidery it is, it's worthless. The consumer group of treasured embroidery is too small. Not to mention the high price, ordinary rich people can't even tell. When doing business, you have to target the consumer group. According to the season, according to the time, including the change of weather, you have to pay attention to every place. If you want to make big money, don't give up small money. Xian Air had come to this conclusion after playing countless top-tier commercial games. If you can't change the world, then you should take advantage of it. Instead of compromising, you should seize every opportunity. The old man suddenly felt that his granddaughter had changed into a different person. She shouldn't be nestled in his arms like a child. There should be many people respectfully waiting for her orders. It was a strange feeling which made the old man laugh, but he had to admit that his granddaughter was right, so he asked again, Xian Air, can you tell me why? It's very simple, Grandpa. When everyone's plans to make money are in conflict and equal, whoever grasps the details will be the one who will make money. In the same environment and with the same competitors, the details will determine success or failure. Grandpa, for example, if you let me make money now, I will immediately buy a large number of umbrellas. The plum rain season has arrived. Many businessmen will do the same. Grandpa, I'm talking about now, not a game. But I won't buy an umbrella like others. It's no different from others. When I buy an umbrella and go to Zhejiang and Hangzhou, I will be attacked by the local umbrella merchants. I won't earn much money that way and I will also offend people. Xian Air said without any modesty. Then what are you going to do? The old man couldn't think of such a situation. He also knew that it was indeed the plum rain season from here to Zhejiang and Hangzhou. Buying umbrellas would make money. Wasn't it right? For the first time, the old man had the desire to make money himself. If he didn't listen to his granddaughter, he really didn't know that umbrellas were valuable at this time. I will find a workshop that makes umbrellas, a local one. I will take out 10 strings of cash and ask those craftsmen to come up with better umbrellas, prettier umbrellas, and more convenient umbrellas. Grandpa, don't underestimate those craftsmen. In fact, they have always had ideas. Give them a chance and they will work hard. The reward of 10 strings of cash is enough. They will definitely realize their original ideas. Then they will make more umbrellas. In a few days, the structure of the umbrellas will be almost the same. A large number of new umbrellas can be made in a few days. With the speed of our ship, we will arrive there first, find the local merchants, sell these umbrellas to them and let them sell them themselves. We can leave after we get the goods. I estimate that I can make 500 to 600 strings of cash if I ask them to make 50,000 umbrellas. As long as the design is good, those merchants will agree with the price. This is because we are in a hurry to go to Luzhou. Otherwise, I can make at least 1,000 strings of cash if I do some work. If it were the bad guy Song Jinggong, he would make more. There is always a gap between reality and games. Xanair told her plan and mentioned Song Jinggong very modestly. At this time, Xanair was really standing at the top of the game. Admitting her opponent meant that she was no longer afraid. If she didn't mention Song Jinggong, it would leave a shadow in her heart. A person who could stand in such a position would not be a vulgar person even in reality. She could be said to be the youngest player other than Zhang Xiaobao. In many cases, people at this level had already transcended the game. The old man was excited when he heard his granddaughter's words. He felt that it was very reasonable. He patted his granddaughter's head and said, "Then hurry up and do it. Grandpa will help you." Xanair smiled, turned around and ran to her own cabin. When she came out, she was carrying a big roll of paper. "Xanair, tell Grandpa what this is." The old man helped her take it, but he didn't open it. The topographic map of Jiangnan's East Road. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. Xanair said as she opened the map. There were mountains, rivers, and plains on it. Of course, the map in the game was not as detailed as the sand table map used by the imperial court. Xanair got this map from Song Jinggong in the last 2 hours of the last day. This was the reward for her 3 matches with Song Jinggong. Song Jinggong gave it to her without any complaints. He looked forward to Xanair's growth, even though he already knew that Xanair would lose every match with the young master. Xanair cherished this map very much. At the same time, she had her own pride. Children of similar age were not at the same level as her in this game. This game map of Jiangnan's East Road could not be obtained by anyone except for Zhang Xiaobao's and Wang's shops. Looking at the map, the old man felt that he should write a memorial to the emperor. After all, he was an official of secondary class 3 and had a noble title. He could directly send a memorial to the emperor. He didn't care about the things in the game, but it was not easy for his granddaughter to make a plan when it came to the real world. After thinking for a while, the old man decided not to write it now. He asked his granddaughter, "Xanair, have you achieved the goal of knowing yourself and knowing your enemy? I'm actually very lonely without an opponent. It's fun with Song Jinggong here. The umbrella is actually a trap. It's not fun. It's not fun at all." Xanair blew hard and puffed up her cheeks to vent her anger. How can it be a trap? Isn't it possible to earn 500 or 600 strings of coins? The old man really couldn't understand. They were talking about it just now, but in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Xanair giggled, "Grandpa, it would be great if all the people I play with are like you. Unfortunately, the people in the top competition seem to be very smart. They are very serious when they play. The game itself is not important. For them, the most important thing is to know other people and discover talents. Grandpa, is 500 or 600 strings of coins, or even 1,000 strings of coins, considered money? In the game, with my current props, I can amass 100,000 strings of cash. It's all money earned from fighting. I originally had 300,000 strings of cash, but Song Jinggong won so much of it. Only now do I understand that I can't control that much money. There are too many aspects involved. 1,000 strings of coins is a small amount of money. Whoever dares to use that method to earn money can forget about doing business in the Jiangnan East Road in the future. If there is a cause, there will be an effect. If we get so many umbrellas and sell them to the local merchants, as long as there are people who buy them, there will be people who imitate them. The price will drop again and again. What will the merchants who buy our umbrellas think? At this time, as long as one of our opponents stands up and spreads rumors that we made those imitated umbrellas and deliberately tricked other merchants, should we explain or not? The opponent will spread this matter in the form of advertisements. My best choice is to leave the Jiangnan East Road. What else can we do if we harm the interests of the local business system and lose our reputation? This is business. The business world is like a battlefield. The best thing is to share the benefits and benefit everyone. It's just like playing chess. Winning the game is not a skill. Winning the game is not a skill. Winning the game is a skill. Next to the map of the top games is written, the master of the piece is the master of the piece. How is this a game? There are so many things involved in this game. What is the Zhang family thinking? No matter how magnanimous our country is, we can't let other countries learn from this game. I have to write a booklet. The old man muttered and wanted to go back to the cabin. Exinair was not willing. Her plan was not completed yet. How can she not give a good gift? Grandpa, no, we can't do this. I haven't finished talking. We don't want to do the umbrella business. We can do something else. Something else is more profitable and we don't have to worry about offending people. Exinair pulled her grandpa's lapel and said anxiously, is there a profitable business? The old man had to stop. Yes, we can buy the Taihu Lake herring crabs here. Buy as many as you can and raise them on the boat. When we arrive there it will be the fattest moment. Exinair pointed at a piece of the map and said. The old man looked at it and thought for a while. It's a very common thing. Are there any crabs in the sea? Grandpa, this is the most profitable thing. On the other side of the top games, it is written, using the right and the right using the strange to win. It is strange to be harmonious but not harmonious. No matter how many crabs there are in the sea, they are saltwater. This is freshwater. Even if the disaster is serious, the rich will not disappear. Maybe saltwater crabs are better than freshwater crabs. I don't know, but the freshwater crabs there are not for the taste, but for the location, especially when they are still alive. This is the real good thing. Don't you think so, Grandpa? Exinair was afraid that her grandpa would not agree, so she explained it to him. Chapter 460. As expected, the old man listened to his granddaughter and bought a large number of crabs from Lake Tai. He kept them on the boat and planned to let Xiaobao and Cuckoo have a taste of them when they arrived. As for how to sell them, he would leave it to his granddaughter. The two boats that the Ning family bought from other places just happened to arrive. When the people on the boats saw the very conspicuous boat parked here, they did not dare to come over and greet them. They did not stop and directly passed by. On the deck, the people of the Ning family were still looking at the strange boat. They only heaved a sigh of relief when they could no longer see it. They were afraid that the other party would come looking for them again. Young master, when we return this time, you'll have made a great contribution. You'll definitely be rewarded. Congratulations, young master. On the deck, a servant in his 20s said with a smile to a man about the same age as him who was standing at the bow of the boat with his hands clasped behind his back. Being praised like this, the young master of the Ning family was very happy. Weiwei smiled and said, yes, I received a letter from my family. I started working on it and finally bought 2 boats. The Ning family can do what the Zhang family can do. They're not the only ones who know how to earn money. Once we get the goods on the boats back, we can sell them and earn enough money for a boat. Young master, you're right. When the time comes, we'll sell the goods elsewhere. Let's see if the Zhang family can still keep the good stuff. Master did a good job and didn't let Lu Zhou's goods pass through there. Young master, do you think Lu Zhou's people can stop those goods? Why do they have to charge so much money? The servant flattered him and said whatever he wanted to make the young master happy. When young master Ning heard the servant mention the matter of blocking the road, his face darkened. How dare they? My Ning family is not a family that a person with no foundation can afford to offend. The Zhang Zhong family was just a small family in the past. They had only started to make some money in recent years. He did not know what a big family was. It was not enough just to have a little bit of money. It also needed people in all aspects. Did the Zhang family have that? If the Zhang family is really that capable, they won't be chased to Luzhou. In the letter, he said that a new pier is being built at his place. We'll stop there when we arrive. I'll show you the power of the Ning family. Send a message to Zhang Zhong and he'll personally come to pick me up. Yes, I came to pick you up personally. The servants were willing to flatter him, but they didn't think so in their hearts. Otherwise, they wouldn't have begged for mercy when they bumped into the original minister's boat. Anyway, it had nothing to do with them. When the time came, they would just listen to the orders. As the servant thought about it, he continued to praise the young master. The young master also liked to hear it. The two of them spoke well, and the servant even received some extra tips. The sun hung high in the sky, and only a few strands of clouds were blown back and forth by the wind. Lu Shaoqing was in a very good mood. He bought enough prawns to make 400 jars of prawn sauce, and he owed the bill. He stood in the courtyard and watched the servants busily putting the prawns into the jars. It was as though he was looking at a lot of money in front of him. The steward who got a concubine followed beside him. He was overjoyed these 2 days, but he was also exhausted. He couldn't sleep much at night and spent all his energy on the concubine. He was happy, but he was also a little tired. He wondered if he should take a break tonight. If he did this every day, his body would collapse. However, he was reluctant to do so. This little fishy was not as good as the original one. He couldn't control himself when he held her in his arms. It was like a celestial life. When he thought about how it was all because of the prawns this time, the steward whispered, "Master, should we hurry up? The other 3 families are also doing it. They also bought a lot of prawns, but they also owe the bill." The 4 families added up to 1,600 jars, and the Zhang family only bought 1,000 jars. The extra 600 jars are gone. Yes, we have to hurry up. Let's do it like this. Go find the people in the marinating business first and discuss with them. Write down a receipt for the hundreds of jars here and tell them that after a month, they can lower the price slightly. It doesn't matter what the others do. Lu Shaoqing also thought about this matter. He also knew how much the Zhang family bought. The only competition was with the other 3 families. At this time, it was no longer like before. In the past, the 4 of them could make a fortune together and still work together. Now, each of them only cared about their own business and no one could control each other. After several incidents, they didn't get along well on the surface. Now, they didn't talk to each other when they had nothing to do. Each of them stared at others and hoped that they could live well. If it was the Zhang family's scheme, it could be considered a success. Master, don't worry. I will go and discuss with them now. Master, should we compensate them with the previous 200 jars? It's not a lot. We can just say that they didn't make the prawns and sell these 200 jars to them. After deducting the compensation, we can still earn a lot more. The steward thought of a good idea and said with a flattering smile. After pausing for a moment, he said, "Master, how much should we reduce the price? 15 strings of cash for a jar of prawn sauce. Should we ask for less than 1 string of cash? Less than 1 string of cash may not work, but 2 strings of cash. If they still don't agree, we can only give them 3 strings of cash at most. 12 strings of cash for a jar of prawn sauce is also a lot of profit. What you said before is also a good idea. We can compensate them for their loss and use this money to make up for it." Lu Shaoqing was not so stubborn on this point. After listening to the steward's words, he gave a sum of money and turned to look at those who were washing jars, loading prawns and adding salt. He ordered, "Hurry up and wait for the money this time. 100 copper coins per person." The people who were working happily agreed. As expected, their speed was faster. The steward also left and went to the Zhang family to discuss the price. The main thing was to get a receipt back in case there was no place to sell the prawns after they were made. Otherwise they would really lose money. Lu Shaoqing's family thought so, and the other 3 families were no exception. They all knew how to make the prawn sauce quickly, but the taste was not good. There was still half a month left. Whoever could make the prawn sauce faster would make money. There was no reason to give the benefits to others. The 4 families also thought of the matter of the price reduction. The 4 families sent people out to discuss, but the result was not clear. They were not the only ones who were waiting to make money. A small number of people who had given up on work and went to the sea to catch prawn were also anxiously making prawn sauce. They did not know the method to make the prawn sauce quickly. They just hoped that others would make it slower. Even if they could make 2 jars, they would get 30 strings of coins. The people who followed the orders to work were not envious of them. Everyone had their own aspirations. These people's thoughts were simple. After the great official came, he helped them a lot and did a lot of good things. Such an official should be protected. Wasn't it just a job? He could get a salary and eat well. If he quit, when would Lu Zhou become better? As expected, Zhang Zhong did not continue to go to the front every day. He stayed at home and took care of the 2 most precious people in the family with Wang Wan's father. Zhang Zhong was better. He did not care whether the child was a boy or a girl. Now that there was a boy in the family, there would be someone to inherit the family property in the future. Wang Wan's father, on the other hand, was looking forward to the child being a boy. Then he would not be worried. When the time came, he could ask his sister to help. After all, he could not lose the family property. He believed that his son-in-law Xiao Bao would agree. The two of them were so good at making money, why would they care about giving some to this side? In fact, the two of them did not need to take care of anything at all. There were professionals at home who took care of what they ate, how they walked around every day, what they could and could not touch, their sleeping posture at night, and whether it was cold or warm. These things were taken care of by the professionals trained by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They served the two of them well. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao had just found out about this matter. Someone came over on a horse and told them that the process would take a long time. The two of them did not want to go back immediately. They did not need to take care of the two of them at home now. On this day, the group finally arrived at the foot of the Shirwan Mountains. There was a river flowing down and converging elsewhere. From here they could see the chipmunks running back and forth. They were furry and their tails were not as big as the usual squirrels. They were jumping up and down. When they saw people coming, they would stop and look curiously from time to time. Then they would turn around and hide in the grass. Rest here for a day. You can sleep as much as you want. You can arrange who is on duty. When they arrived at the place, Wang Wan was also very tired. She and Zhang Xiaobao always followed the group when they had almost recovered. More than 100 people sat on the ground at the same time. Even the 56 members of the protection team were no exception. After walking for 3 days, their feet had blisters. There was no road at the foot of the mountain. When they walked in a place with a lot of sand and stones, they did not want to get blisters. They had to practice more. Xiaobao, do you think it's better to have a boy or a girl? My family should have a boy. This way my family will not be anxious. Otherwise, we will always be worried if there is no one to inherit the family business. Wang Wan sat next to Zhang Xiaobao and talked about children. Although it was still early, they had to wait until next summer. Zhang Xiaobao did not care about this. Actually, anything is fine. When the time comes, we can take them to play. It's better for your family to have a boy. My family's daughter is fine too. If it's really like this, I will dress her up as a little princess. Well, then my family will be a man and your family will be a woman. When the time comes, just like what the two families have discussed, your sister will marry my brother. Life isn't good. Summer is torture, so it's better to live in winter. Wang Wan also followed the arrangement. My younger sister won't marry your younger brother. What if your younger brother is that stupid? Wouldn't my younger sister be in trouble? When the time came, they would have to choose. They would find a large group of people and test them from various aspects. Whoever was capable would be accepted. Before they knew what was going on, they would give birth to whoever they wanted. We don't have that kind of technology here. Who cares about your sister? Maybe your sister is the stupid one, Wang Wan retorted with dissatisfaction. Chapter 61. Li Sun also heard the news. He was quite happy. The more people Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families had, the better. When the time came, they would be able to develop. Maybe the master would be happy and call him over to personally teach him something. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan talking, he also came over and said, if you ask me, you should have a few more children at one time. Give birth to 8 or 10 children. You can have both boys and girls. When you go out, you can bring a group of people with you. It will be lively. It's not like they are pigs. In the future, it will be really lively. Let's see who is naughty, eat, sleep, and recover enough energy to go up the mountain. We can hunt some wild beasts and pick some fruits. Wang Wan did not want the two families to have too many children. Only one was enough. Otherwise, it would be dangerous. At this time, who could perform an abdominal section? After they finished talking, they picked up the food and began to eat. After they finished eating, they began to sleep. They would sleep for the whole day and wait for tomorrow to continue to go up the mountain. The 100,000 mountains was a good place. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan both knew that not only were the mountains and rivers here good, but there were also all sorts of resources. Many of them had not been discovered yet, so they could go and search for them. Otherwise, it would be a waste. This was especially true for some plant resources, and there were even many good medicinal ingredients. The guards on both sides continued to apply medicine to their wounds. After the blisters were rubbed out, the layer of skin was gone because they continued to travel. Some of them even had blisters on their red flesh, turning into bloody blisters. Fortunately, they all persevered. Although it was impossible to completely heal their wounds after a day of rest, it could dry their feet, which was good for recovery. The food they ate was the food in the guards' backpacks. Li Sun did not let them throw it away. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan planned to stay in the mountain for half a month. They would finish the food in a few days and then think of other ways. There were some sets of bowls in the backpacks. They took them out, poured some water, and began to stew. A group of people sat around the fire and talked about the hardships of the 3 days. They talked about what the future days would be like. Of course, they also talked about the new life that would appear in Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's families. When a day passed, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had enough rest. They called everyone to continue on their journey. This was the time for the real hardships. The wounds on their feet and the mountain road would be a greater test for them. Li Sun was also prepared for the hardships. He was surrounded by everyone and walked up the mountain. As for the horses, it was easy to handle. As long as they were released, they would go back by themselves. There was no need for others to worry. They deliberately brought 2 old horses. With the 2 of them, the other horses would follow and find the way. Half a month passed by in a hurry. It was autumn. If it was in the capital, it would be a bit cold at this time. However, it was still so hot here. It made people not feel that autumn had come at all. Only the situation of the grain, cotton, and other things let people know that it was autumn. The river channel had been dug, but the big dike by the sea had not been completed. At this speed, it would take at least a few months to make a prototype. If they wanted to completely repair it, they would have to wait until next year to continue to strengthen it. It had to be repaired every year. Zhang Zhong did not know if the successor would learn to do so. In short, he would build this place well. How others did it had little to do with him. Moreover, Zhang Xiaobao also mentioned this point in his plan. In fact, it was very simple. Even if the officials did not organize the repairs, the people could do it themselves. Even if they left here, the Chamber of Commerce would always be here. There was also the docks and other places. They would need to send people here to take care of them. If the officials did not do it, then they would take some money from the Chamber of Commerce every year and hire the local people to do the repairs. In this way, they would not have to worry about being unprepared when they encountered danger. As for merchants, in Zhang Xiaobao's view, they had to repay society. After all, the Chamber of Commerce needed a reputation, and the people were the foundation of making money. Without the foundation, after a disaster, some merchants would feel that it had nothing to do with them. In fact, it had a lot to do with them. If there was another disaster and they did not take precautions, then who would provide the local specialties? After half a month had passed, some people were anxious while others were happy. The happy ones were naturally Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. In this half a month, the 2 of them led a group of people to live in the mountains. The food brought by the Wang Mansion's guards ran out after a few days. The main reason was that there were many people helping to eat. Without food, everyone could only find their own way here. There were wild fruits, wild vegetables, and all kinds of animals in the mountains, all of which could be used as food. Li Sun finally understood what survival in the wild was. It was not only looking for food, but there were also some tasks that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said had to be completed. They had to compete with each other, such as hiding, searching, and so on. In this half a month, Li Sun also suffered a lot. Sometimes he really wanted to give up and not continue to stay here. It was really unbearable, several times more unbearable than the things he did in the beginning. Especially at night, there were many wild beasts. Some came out to look for food, such as owls and wolves. All kinds of sounds were mixed together, making people feel scared. Especially there were many snakes here who knew when they would crawl over and entangle you while you were asleep, or even bite you directly with venom. More than 100 people had to force themselves to be alert. During the day they prepared food and were on guard. At night they had to arrange for people to be on guard. Everyone on guard was vigilant. If it was only like this, then Li Sun would not say anything. But in the woods, it was stuffy and hot, especially when it rained twice. The feeling of being wet all over was really unbearable. If it were not for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan acting as if nothing had happened every day, Li Sun would have left. But with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's example, Li Sun felt that if he left, it would be very shameful. He was even worse than 2 children. After persevering for half a month, there were tasks to be completed every day. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan felt that it was about time, so they led everyone to a large stone platform with a waterfall. They announced that they could rest for a day, then go home and come back in a few days. In half a month's time, Li Sun had matured quite a bit. More than 100 people had undergone some changes. Even the original 56 people had also gained quite a bit. They had also undergone this kind of training in the forest in the past, but that time was a little different from now. Due to the environmental issues, that time was in the mountains of Huayuan County. It was not as stuffy as here, and every one of them was drenched in sweat every day. There was no place to wash. Even if they went to a water source early, they did not dare to wash. They were afraid that they would not have a change of clothes, be bitten by mosquitoes at night, and be cut by branches. After wearing it for so many days, it became soft with sweat. When it dried, it became hard. It was very uncomfortable, but they still persevered. During this period, the group met some mountain people. The mountain people were still a little wary of the people outside, but they did not attack as casually as before. They even exchanged some things. Besides the mountain people, what Li Sun found most interesting was the wooden houses that some hunters built here. They were usually placed on trees and there was only one door. The door was closed and the outside was tied with a rope. When they found the first house, Li Sun was very happy because there were dried bacon, some rice, things to light a fire, and even some herbs inside. Seeing these things, Li Sun's first thought was to take all of them and take advantage of them. However, he was stopped by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They ate the dried bacon but did not touch the rice. When they caught some prey, they made some dried food and put it in the house. They even put some more food. Li Sun did not understand why they put things in the house. Wang Wan had seen this before, so she was very familiar with it. Many hunters would build a house in the forest when they had enough money and put things in it. There were usually such houses on all the connected mountains. One was for rest, and the other was for food when they were injured or did not catch any prey. As long as they were real hunters, they would do this. They would not only provide food for themselves, but also for other hunters. If everyone did this, no matter which mountain they went to, they would not have to worry about not having a place to rest, let alone being unlucky and starving to death in the mountains. There was a rule in this. When they needed food, they could go to such a place to find food and rest. However, after they finished eating, they had to give back the same amount of food they used. They could only give more, not less. Otherwise, what would the others do? After hearing Wang Wan's explanation, Li Sun finally understood. In the end, she bought more things and placed them in the room. At the same time, she also left behind some salt, blankets and bowls from the guards' bags. They were about to leave. Li Sun, who was sitting on a rock and eating, was a little reluctant to leave. He looked at the waterfall in front of him and said, "The next time I come, I have decided to bring everyone and even more tools. Every once in a while, I will build a house and put things in it. When more hunters arrive, they will be able to get help. These hunters are really amazing." None of them did not return the food they ate. After going to a few places, the water in the buckets is full, the firewood is chopped, and the meat is not missing at all. It's really admirable. This is because they all know that if they don't replenish themselves, they won't be able to get help when they're in danger. This is the most simple way of thinking. It's for others and even more so for themselves. Unfortunately, there are many people who don't know this and only do things that harm others without benefiting themselves. Even though Wang Wan already knew this rule, she still admired it. Chapter 62. Zhang Xiaobao also knew that when he was with Wang Wan, some people in the deep mountains would also abide by such rules. However, some people who specialized in exploring would not think so. They would eat other people's things and throw a lot of garbage in other people's houses. This place was still the best. After walking through so many houses, there wasn't a single one that didn't have anything inside. This was the quality that should be there. "Xiaobao, when will you come again? Tell me in advance so that I can prepare more things. I saw that the axes used to chop firewood in the middle of the two houses are no longer working. Although they have been sharpened too many times, so they have become much smaller. Even the top has cracked. I will bring more axes the next time I come." This was the first time Li Sun had seen such a fun thing. He felt that when he came across these houses, it was very safe and comfortable to sleep there. It was as if he had a home to rely on. "It won't be long before we come again. Don't worry, there's a lot of good stuff here. Once we've explored all the paths, it'll be more convenient for us to come again. Just like what you said, we'll build more houses. Not only is it to provide a place for the hunters to rest, but it can also be used by the villagers in case they're in a hurry." Zhang Xiaobao thought about more things. Although there were wild animals in this place, if it was properly developed, it might attract people to come here for tourism. Of course, at this time, the various famous mountains were not damaged. There were also good places elsewhere, but this was the Sherwan Mountains. The scenery was beautiful and the mountains and rivers were very good. If they used the houses to attract people, there should be people who would be willing to come here, especially those who were rich and had nothing to do. Even if they were from the capital, they could come here by boat and wait for the boat to be improved. It would only take 5 months to go back and forth and half a year to come back. Not only here but also the seaside in front. They could eat the local specialties here and feel the ethnic customs here. As long as it was advertised and really attracted people, it would definitely be developed. Wang Wan also knew about Zhang Xiaobao's plan. She didn't think highly of it and felt that who would be so free as to spend half a year traveling? Even if they could see a lot of other scenery along the way, it wouldn't be worth it. Moreover, the money spent wouldn't be small either. If the ship didn't carry people, it could carry goods, and the money it could earn should be more when carrying people. Zhang Xiaobao said that he wanted to see how the tourism in the capital was doing. If it could set off a trend, then it would be enough, especially for some people who needed to go outside to experience it. For example, the children of a certain family, or the students who wanted to go outside to study. In the past, these people also brought money along with them as they traveled. Then they could specially make 2 boats to provide them with such services. The price was not too high. If one of them became successful in the future, they would definitely remember this kind of boat. Sometimes money was not so important. The 2 of them discussed this matter once. In the end, the result of the discussion was that Zhang Xiaobao would give it a try. If it was successful, then it was fine. If it was not, then it would be considered a game. Li Sun did not know that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had such plans. He was preparing to turn a dangerous mountain into a safe home. This was his dream, just like the original Zhang Xiaobao and Zhuangzi. Hearing that Zhang Xiaobao would be back soon, he happily threw a stone into the water. After thinking for a while, he said, "Also, I see that there are many rivers here as well as waterfalls and pools. Should we find a few people who know how to build boats and put boats on both sides of the river? This way we don't have to go around to find a place with shallow water. What if we accidentally go the wrong way and enter a deep place?" Zhang Xiaobao could understand Li Sun's way of thinking. It was a kind of builder's way of thinking. Many people had the same way of thinking. They wanted to find a stable place for themselves. The size of the place depended on one's ability. People like Li Sun who were more capable would place their thoughts on more places. This showed that Li Sun was very kind-hearted. He wanted others to live well and he wanted to see others live well. This Li Sun seemed to be different from the one in history. That was good. This way they could be together. Anyway, it would not cost much. Zhang Xiaobao did not care about Li Sun's money. Seeing that Li Sun had said so, he agreed. Then it's settled. In addition to these, we can also find people to pull ropes from some mountain streams. A few ropes can save a lot of walking and we can walk directly from the mountain. Then it's settled. It's the last day. Let's go inside and see if we can find better things. Li Sun was happy to see that there was support. He looked at the water of the waterfall and looked at the directions that they had not yet gone. He suggested that they should go forward on the last day. In fact, they had already harvested a lot of things this time. For example, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had people get a lot of ginseng. There was also peppermint and so on. These herbs were good things. They were going to take them back and make some medicine according to some medical books. There were also some that were not written in the books. The 2 of them also discussed making other things, and when the time comes they could sell them for money. In addition to the medicinal herbs, there were also the furs of some wild beasts. With so many people and weapons, they had hunted a lot of animals in half a month. These things were going to be transported back to the capital. By that time it would be almost winter and the price of furs would not be small. Li Sun still wanted to get some more things. He wanted to get something like a tiger or a bear. He could eat it in the past, but he was not sure how it was here. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard Li Sun talking about tigers and bears along the way, so they knew what he was planning. They wanted to tell him that the tigers here were small, and even if there were bears, it was not the season to eat them. They were not sure if they should hibernate like in cold places before eating. After all, they did not know much about this place. Since Li Sun had such an idea, then they would follow him. It just so happened that the 2 of them also wanted to see more. They had not learned mining before, so they did not know what kind of minerals there were. There were also a lot of plants that they had not seen before. The 2 of them also asked people to bring them and wait to go back and ask. In fact, it would take 4 days to go back. After all, when they came they walked back and forth. The distance forward was not short, although there were some times when they moved sideways. If they walked forward a little more, then they would have to walk 1 more day to come back. Zhang Xiaobao was very happy. He actually wanted to stay here for a month, but he felt that these people's bodies could not bear it. After all, it was the first time they had really received this kind of training, especially the guards of the Wang mansion. He was worried that if they really stayed here for a month, someone would get sick. Even now, some of these people were dispirited because of the lack of some trace elements. They had eaten fruits and wild vegetables. Perhaps it was because they had eaten less rice. Zhang Xiaobao could only think of it this way. This time he would first shorten the time. After he got used to it, he could come back for a longer time. Every extra day counted. Once the three of them decided, the others would not say anything against it. Anyway, they were already like this, so what could be worse than this? The group finished eating. There was no need to arrange any tasks for today. After a little rest, they began to move forward. They planned to walk in during the day and see if they could come back when it was dark. If they encountered a wild beast, then they could only rest on the spot. The group did not walk fast. There were people who were responsible for looking for snakes in the surrounding grass. There were also people in front who were responsible for opening the way. Because there were not many people, when they walked they could not find any traces of the road. Many times they would come across some vines. During the day nothing happened. Those who needed to gather herbs did so. Those who needed to hunt animals did so. For the sake of training, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not allow the guards of the Wang mansion to use crossbows. Only the knives in their hands could be used. Otherwise they would learn from others to set traps. Zhang Xiaobao knew a little and Wang Wan also knew a little. The traps made by the two of them were quite easy to use, especially the pheasants, which were very easy to catch. As long as they made a vertical trap next to a tree and sprinkled some rice on the side, if the pheasant was careless, it would drill its head into the trap to eat. After it finished eating, it would not come out, so it would move forward with all its strength. When the time came, they would be able to catch it. When it was night time, everyone was extremely careful as they walked back. They lit torches to illuminate the area and at the same time, they chased away some animals. As they walked, suddenly, a whimpering sound came from the side in front of them. Listening to the sound, it seemed to be very fierce. As they walked forward, the sound became louder and quieter. "Let's go and have a look." Wang Wan listened for a while and said to everyone. At this time, the guards of the Wang mansion would not continue to use knives. At night, they were on guard with crossbows. As they approached, the torches finally shone on something. In the grass in front of them, there was a dog lying on its stomach. At this time, the most reminded people of a wolf, but it did not look like one. Wang Wan moved forward, and the torches also moved forward. After taking a closer look, Wang Wan was stunned for a moment. Immediately, she said with distress, "It's a dog. It's having a difficult birth. It's working hard there. There's already a puppy. Oh, it has no strength." Why did a dog come to the mountain? A wild dog? A hunter's hunting dog? Zhang Xiaobao also moved forward and looked carefully. It was indeed not a wolf, but a gray dog. It was working hard to give birth to the child in its belly. Maybe the second puppy was a little bigger and had a difficult birth. The sound just now was a warning. Unfortunately, it obviously had no strength. As a result, both the puppy and the big dog in the belly would die. Chapter 461. At this time, the guards of the Wang mansion would not continue to use knives. At night, they would be on guard with crossbows. As the crowd approached, the torch finally shone on something. In the grass in front of them, there was a dog lying on its stomach. At this time, the most reminded people of a wolf, but it did not look like one. Wang Wan moved forward, and the torch also moved forward. After taking a closer look, Wang Wan was stunned for a moment, and immediately said with distress, "It's a dog. It's having a difficult birth. It's working hard there. There's already a puppy. Oh, it has no strength." Why did the dog come to the mountain? A wild dog? A hunter's hunting dog? Zhang Xiaobao also moved forward and looked carefully. It was indeed not a wolf, but a gray dog. It was working hard to give birth to the child in its stomach. Maybe the second puppy was a little bigger and had a difficult birth. The bark just now was a warning. Unfortunately, it obviously had no strength. The result was that both the puppy and the big dog in the belly would die. Wang Wan turned around and said to the others, "Hurry up and cook something. Thin it out a little. You have to be quick, especially the meat. Give it to the big dog. It has no energy left. Dog, hang in there. You'll be fine soon." Wang Wan did not know what was going on with the dog, but it was clear that it had no strength. This was troublesome. She could not help to pull it, so she could only be anxious. The only way was to see if the dog could eat. If it ate, it could recover its strength. Immediately, someone did as Wang Wan said and began to cook porridge. Zhang Xiaobao first put some honey in a wild bee's nest, put it on the knife, and stretched it out to see if the dog would eat it. The big dog whined, looked at Zhang Xiaobao, and then looked at the honey on the knife in front of it. Before it could eat, it was pulled back by Wang Wan. "Don't give the dog honey. Wait for the porridge," Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and didn't say anything else. However, he was still nervous about the dog. Even though it was just a dog, the birth of a new life always made people feel sacred and excited. Not only him but the others were also anxious. Li Sun turned around anxiously and said to the dog, "Give birth to the little guy, and I will give you good food in the future. Do you hear me? You must insist on giving birth to the little guy, and then I will take care of your little dog." The dog no longer had the energy to bark at the crowd. It was still struggling and there was a trace of sadness in its eyes. The porridge was finally ready. In fact, the meat was cooked, so they let people break it up and put it in water. There was no need to boil the water. As long as it was hot, it would be fine. A guard who used to have a dog at home was brave. He brought the porridge to the dog, tested the temperature with his hand, and put it in front of the dog's mouth. He deliberately spilled some porridge and waited for the guard to step back. Everyone looked at the dog with concern. The dog's eyes didn't have much life. It looked weakly at the people in front of it and then at the porridge. After smelling it twice, it finally stuck out its tongue and licked it. Everyone was afraid that the dog wouldn't eat. At this time, seeing it eat, there was more hope in their hearts. They continued to watch. The dog ate half a bowl and then lay there motionless. After a while, its stomach began to move. The puppy began to come out little by little. Wang Wan nervously grabbed Zhang Xiaobao's hand and softly shouted, come on, it's coming out soon. Put in more effort, come on, you can be a mother." Under the concern of the family, the dog on the ground used all its strength and finally gave birth to the puppy little by little. When the second dog came out, everyone continued to wait. But after waiting for a while, the third dog didn't come out. The big dog began to use its tongue to lick the puppy whose eyes were closed. The puppy also wriggled its body and crawled under its mother's belly. The two puppies and one dog found a nipple and closed their eyes to suck. The big dog also began to eat the rest of the porridge. When it looked at the people around it, its eyes were a little less guarded. In fact, when a dog gave birth, it would be guarded even if its relatives were around. It was unknown why this was. Perhaps it was because of that bowl of porridge. After the rest of the porridge was eaten, another bowl of porridge was sent over. This time, the big dog didn't stand on ceremony. After a while, it ate this bowl of porridge into its stomach. It closed its eyes and panted there, while the puppy continued to eat. A smile appeared on everyone's face. Witnessing the birth of a new life was a joyous thing, especially when it was born with their help. "Oh, now you see, this dog was injured. Look at its leg, it's bleeding a lot. I don't know if it was bitten or melon. Why don't we take it back and raise it?" Wang Wan had always wanted to raise a dog so that it could be a police dog or something. Naturally, the big dog couldn't, but the small dog could. If the family of 3 was brought back, the food problem of the puppy would be solved. Otherwise, they would have to feed them other things. How do we bring it back? This dog will bite. Do we knock it out first? It's easy to beat it to death. How can we tie it up? Zhang Xiaobao's 2 puppies were very fun to play with, but there was no other way. They couldn't just tell the dogs to follow them, right? Wang Wan also began to worry. After thinking for a while, she suddenly said, "Make a stretcher and carry it. First, make the stretcher, then use a stick to put it on the stretcher. It was injured and difficult to give birth, so it shouldn't have much strength. It won't hurt others." The other people also wanted to take this family back. Otherwise, with the big dog's injury, it was very likely that the 3 of them would die on the mountain. Hearing the young lady's words, they began to make the stretcher. After a while, the stretcher was done. Wang Wan looked at it and said, "Make a doghouse and put the blanket in it. See if it wants to go in." The people next to them began to make the doghouse again. The dog just lay there and looked at the people, not moving. When the 2 puppies were almost done eating, the big dog took them in front of it and looked at them one by one. After a while, the doghouse was also done. It was placed on the stretcher with 2 blankets inside. They carried it in front of the big dog to see if it wanted to go in. Usually this was impossible, but they didn't know whether the big dog felt the kindness of these people or this dog was different from other dogs. It carried the 2 children into the doghouse and the big dog went in by itself. It went in and put the 2 puppies at the door of the doghouse, protecting them with its paws. The people who had just brought the porridge poured the rest of the porridge into a bowl and put it on the stretcher in front of the doghouse. The 2 people lifted the whole doghouse and continued to walk. The big dog might have eaten almost all of the porridge just now. At this time, it didn't continue to eat. Instead, it stuck its head out to look around and then shrank back to protect the children. "Xiaobao, why do I feel that it is not like a dog but a human? It is so sensible. This is good. It is very warm inside and the family of 3 doesn't have to worry about the problem of food. The wound is not bleeding anymore. Let's take a look at it in the morning and help to wrap it. Wang Wan walked beside the stretcher. After having a dog, she was very happy and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao also had the same feeling. He didn't know what the puppy would be like with such a dog. If it was so smart, then it could be used as a life-saving dog. This animal is psychic. It is very comfortable to raise such a dog. When we go back, we can build a better doghouse. I don't know what you are going to feed it. Do you really want to eat raw meat every meal? Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan while looking at the dog on the stretcher that would stick its head out from time to time. Of course it can't only eat meat. It also needs to eat food, but it can't eat salt. I'm going to raise it as a military dog. The big dog is so smart and the small dog won't be bad. Too not bad. Wang Wan looked very excited. At this time, Li Sun said from the side, 2 puppies. Can you give me one too? When the time comes, we'll see who's the best. No, if you want to raise a dog, you have to find one yourself. There are only 2 in total. Xiaobao and I will have one each. Wang Wan refused directly. Then I will raise one myself. When I go back and find a good dog, it will bully your dog. Seeing that Wang Wan didn't want to give it to him, Li Sun decided to go back and ask for a few dogs himself. He had to compete. The group of people walked in such a cheerful atmosphere until midnight. Then they found a good place to rest. Several bonfires were lit. Those who were supposed to sleep slept, and those who were supposed to keep watch did the night. The big dog was also arranged to be next to them for protection. The 2 puppies ate and slept very peacefully. In the middle of the night, the big dog came out and walked around. The night watchers didn't care about it. As long as the puppies were there, they didn't believe that the big dog would abandon the puppies. The big dog's leg was indeed injured, and it was limping as it walked. After walking around in a circle, it felt fine, so it peed on a tree root and returned to the stretcher. After eating more than half a bowl of porridge, it went back to its nest and fell asleep. The people on the mountain were happy, but many people at the foot of the mountain were dumbfounded. Half a month had passed, and the Zhang family had collected enough prawn paste, exactly 1,000 jars. But the problem was that the prawn paste was not collected from the local people, nor from the homes of Lu Shaoqing and the other 3 people. Instead, it was from an outsider, the one who sold the prawn paste to the 4 families. He brought the prawn paste. Once the Zhang family collected enough prawn sauce, they stopped. No matter what the 4 families said, even if the price was lowered. Those people who didn't work but went to catch prawns were dumbfounded. What about the prawn sauce in their hands? They were still counting on the prawn sauce to make a fortune. These commoners were actually better off. At least they didn't sell their things. They didn't suffer too much loss and could still continue to work at the construction site. But Lu Shaoqing and the other 3 people were different. They owed money to buy the prawns. Suddenly the prawns were worthless. Who could they ask for the money? Then what about the money on the note? This was troublesome. The money owed to Zhang Zhong was paid back bit by bit without any interest. But the prawns had interest. If Zhang Zhong continued to deduct their money every month, the remaining money wouldn't be enough to pay back the interest. Everyone had many jars of prawn sauce in their hands. The prawn sauce was no longer valuable. Lu Shaoqing gave away the 200 jars of prawn sauce that the Zhang family originally had and made some money from it. But his capital was too big. At this time, the Zhang family started a new round of purchases. They paid 40 copper coins for a jar of prawn sauce. Those who wanted to sell it could go over and sell it. This price was far lower than the previous one. It couldn't be compared at all. Lu Shaoqing found the person in charge and pointed to the jars of prawn sauce. He said to the person in charge, "Go and sell these at the price of 12 copper coins per jar." This was your idea, right? Then I'll leave it to you. Master, where can this little one sell it? Even if you sell this little one, you won't be able to get the money. Master, let's think of another way. We can discuss with the Zhang family and ask them to give us more money. When the person in charge came, he knew that something was wrong. Now that he heard the master ask him to sell the prawn sauce at that price, he knew that the master had put the blame on him. Chapter 64, Prawn discuss what? What do you want to discuss? Didn't you agree when I asked you to discuss it last time? It's a pity that they didn't have a written agreement. When you went, I told you again and again that there was a written agreement. Without a written agreement, why did you come back and say that it was settled? Lu Shaoqing didn't want to admit that he didn't handle this matter well. Instead, he put the blame on the person in charge. This way he would feel better in his heart. At the same time, it would also reduce the complaints of his family. Even if many people knew that without the master's approval, the person in charge wouldn't have done this. The person in charge really didn't know what to say now. What could he do? Not only him but also the other 3 families. Which family didn't send someone to tell them? Which family wrote a written agreement? When he came back, the master said that the Zhang family felt that the amount of prawn sauce was too much. Now that they admitted it verbally, it was actually just to see who could make the prawn sauce first. If it was him, he would also do the same. In the end, not a single jar of prawn sauce was sold. This responsibility was placed on him. He understood, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. He could only brace himself and bear with it. Otherwise he would easily be beaten to death. The biggest problem now was what to do with these jars of prawn sauce. The person in charge lowered his head and pondered for a while. He said, "Master, this little one will go and discuss with the Zhang family. If they are willing to pay more, then we will sell it to them. If they are not willing, this little one is willing to personally take these jars of prawn sauce and sell them elsewhere. I will sell them 1 jin at a time. No matter what, this little one will be able to recoup some of the cost. Master, what do you think?" "Recoup some cost? Do you know how much the cost is?" "Tell me, how much is the cost? Can you even tell? It's not even enough to pay back the interest. When I owed Zhang Zhong money, I felt very sad. Now I know that I can't afford to owe him money with interest. What do you think we should do?" The more Lu Shaoqing thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. Ever since Zhang Zhong came, he had not had a good day. When he was given water, he felt good and was happy. Now he owed money on both sides. On one side it was the monthly deduction from the production of the land, and on the other side it was the monthly loan sharks. Zhang Zhong's side was easy to deal with, but if the people here came to force him to pay back the debt, how could he refuse? If he gave it to them, how could he give it to them? What could he give to them? Even if he sold the house, it wouldn't be worth much. It seemed that he could only see if his family had anything valuable and pawn it. He would pay back a portion of the debt first. If that didn't work, he would sell the servants in the house. Otherwise, if there was no way to survive, he could just find a rope and hang himself. What was the point of living like this? The steward also knew that his idea was useless, but he couldn't just leave it like this. What would come, and there was no use being afraid. After thinking for a while, he really couldn't think of anything. He said to Lu Shaoqing, "Master, this is all my fault. I didn't do a good job. I will go to the Zhang family first to ask, and I will think of a solution when I come back." Lu Shaoqing didn't have much energy to pursue the matter with the steward. Seeing that the steward took the initiative to admit it, he waved his hand and asked the steward to leave. He stood in front of the jars and stared blankly. The steward didn't go directly to the Zhang family. Instead, he returned to his own house. Because the house wasn't worth much, he had a 3-room house. These few days he had been at Little Fishy's place every day, and his body was getting worse and worse. Yesterday, because of this matter, he hadn't eaten all day and night. It was already noon today and he didn't feel hungry anymore. However, he knew that he had to eat something. Little Fishy was usually the maidservant who served the madam. After she was released to do other things, she hadn't cooked for him and had always eaten in the courtyard. Today he would let her cook for him. As the steward thought about it, his footsteps quickened. When he returned to the courtyard, he saw Little Fishy packing up. The steward thought that she was tidying up the room, but when he walked closer, he realized that Little Fishy was packing up some of the things he had brought. "My Fishy, where are you going? Are you going out? Is there someone you know here?" The steward hugged Little Fishy from behind and asked. He deliberately put his mouth next to Little Fishy's ear. Usually, as long as he did this, Little Fishy would lean on him weakly and let him take advantage of her. However, today she didn't react at all. After packing up the bag, she said, "Just now the head steward came over and said that you did something wrong. I have to go back and continue with my work. You can stay here by yourself." "What? You're leaving? Did the head steward say that? Why didn't Master tell me? I don't believe it. I'll go and ask now." The steward was very reluctant to let Little Fishy leave. He turned around and was about to question her, but after taking a few steps he stopped, looked at Little Fishy and said, "Go, there's no need to ask. Master didn't tell me, but this matter can't be fake. The head steward has been thinking about you. Go, you won't have anything to do with me." Little Fishy didn't say anything. She directly picked up the bag, turned around and left. She didn't even look back. The steward stared blankly in the direction Little Fishy left. He turned around and looked at the house that he hadn't entered for many days. He hesitated and didn't know what to do. At this moment, the door opened. The steward's chubby wife walked out and ran to the kitchen. After a while, she came back with a bowl of noodles. she said to the steward, "Why did you bring such a woman back? You were hoping to give birth to a child. Now people will laugh at you. You didn't seem to eat yesterday. Have you eaten today? Quickly eat these noodles. There's a lot of shrimp sauce in the yard. I took advantage of the fact that they made too much and couldn't manage it and used this sauce to fry some onions for you. Try it. Isn't it just that the Zhang family doesn't accept shrimp sauce? What are you afraid of? Come eat quickly. What does a woman like you know? How can you not be afraid? Do people outside know how much money they owe? Master pushed this matter to me and made noodles with zhajiangmian. Do you only know how to make noodles with zhajiangmian?" The steward had a stomach full of anger. When he saw his wife, he vented all his anger on her. The chubby woman was stunned for a moment and immediately said, "Husband is right. I don't know anything. It's all my husband who supports this family. But my husband can't fall, otherwise this family will be gone. Come eat the noodles. Zhajiangmian is quick to make. Do you want to eat dumplings? I'll make them for you tonight." In fact, this matter is very obvious. The Zhang family felt that Master and the other 3 people might pay back the money. Master and the other 3 people have committed many crimes. What can they do without evidence? Naturally, they began to torture Master from this side. Isn't this a trap for Master to fall into? Master was also tempted. Otherwise, how could he do this? It's just the 200 jars of shrimp sauce. In fact, it's not that big of a deal. The main thing is that the price of 15 strings of coins per jar is really effective. So, the 200 jars before were used by the Zhang family because they didn't think of a better plan at the beginning. When the steward heard what his wife said, he also reacted. He opened his mouth and asked his wife to feed him. That's right. The first one was the most useful. It was to divide the 4 clans. Without that strategy, the 4 clans would have banded together. That would have made things difficult for us. However, ever since the incident with the 200 jars, look at what happened to the 4 clans later on. In order to go one step further, the Zhang family even sent Master Chao's family to live a good life there. From then on, they began to break apart. This was the Zhang family's plan. After the 15 strings of coins purchase, the 4 families immediately went their own way without any discussion. In order to compete and earn money, the result became what it is now. The prawn seller was actually arranged by the Zhang family. Originally, there was no profit when owing money, right? There will be a day when it's all paid back. Now it's monthly interest. If there's no help, it won't be able to be paid back in a lifetime. People like us won't have a good day. As long as we have a little bit of money, we have to give it to others. As long as one person is idle, he has to work to earn money. This is the ability of the Zhang family. If we offend them, we don't know what to do in the future. The fat woman explained while feeding her husband. As long as they knew, it meant that this should be a profitable business. If they couldn't sell the shrimp sauce here, they could learn how to make it and sell it elsewhere. It was better than what they were doing now. At this time, the steward was finally happy and said, "Well, I think so too. I'll go and tell Master. Make me another bowl of noodles. I'll eat it when I come back." "Great, my husband is really amazing. You thought of it so quickly." The fat woman was already used to this. If it wasn't for her bad luck, she wouldn't have been in this position. Seeing the steward leave, she shook her head and went to make noodles. The steward was overjoyed. He jogged all the way thinking about the reward he would receive if this plan succeeded. Then he thought about little fishy who had already left. He sighed and muttered to himself, "What little fishy? The people in my family are still the best. At least they can make noodles for me." When the steward came to the front and found Master, Lu Shaoqing was still in a daze. The steward directly told him what his wife had just said. After hearing this, Lu Shaoqing nodded and said, "I know it's the Zhang family's plan. They are really amazing. What you said might work. Then let's not worry about it for now. Find the things at home and see how much they can be sold for. No matter what, we have to hold on for a few days. Don't let the other 3 families know about this. Let them be unlucky." "Master, don't worry. I understand. The Zhang family is buying shrimp sauce everywhere at a very low price. If they know, they won't sell it to the Zhang family. They will keep it and wait to learn from the Zhang family. Master, I will definitely not tell anyone. If one more person knows, Master will find me to settle accounts. Then I will arrange for people to keep an eye on the Zhang family now, in case we don't know what they are doing. Master, you should go back and have a rest. It's hot now. It's not good for you to be in the sun too much." The steward quickly said. He had finally gotten rid of that responsibility. When he heard Master's words, he knew that Master didn't intend to pursue the matter. After he finished speaking happily, he turned around and left. This time, he was careful and decided to only send people to keep an eye on the situation. He didn't tell the people he sent the specific situation. Otherwise, if other people knew about it and the news really spread to the other 3 families, he would be finished. As expected, the other 3 families didn't think of this. They only knew that Zhang Zhong had deceived them. He wanted them to be in debt and live a bad life. Sending people to the Zhang family to plead would be useless. Looking at the shrimp sauce in their hands, they couldn't wait to eat it all and then die there. They didn't need to think about other things anymore. The Zhang family gave a new price, which was very cheap. It made them hesitate whether they should sell it or not. If they sold it, they could still survive. If they didn't sell it, they wouldn't be able to survive at all. Just when they couldn't come to a decision, the Zhang family adjusted the price again. It was 15 copper coins per jar. They also said that there was a limit to the amount. After a certain amount, they wouldn't accept more. All of a sudden, the 3 families became anxious and went to the Zhang family to discuss again. This time, the Zhang family didn't go too far. In any case, they had already made the 4 families owe them money. They weren't afraid that they would be able to pay back. Therefore, they gave the 3 families a price of 40 copper coins per jar. The 3 families reluctantly sold all the shrimp sauce and then began to think of ways to make money. But Lu Xiaoqing's family didn't sell the shrimp sauce. When the 3 families found out, they felt that it was very inconceivable. What was Lu Xiaoqing thinking? Could it be that his family still had money? Could they still continue to pay back? With such doubts, Chao Herui met with the other 2 people. Why do you think this is? Why didn't Lu Xiaoqing sell it? Does his family have a way to survive this crisis? Chao Herui said to the 2 people. At the same time, he also sent people to inquire about the news. He wanted to know what Lu Xiaoqing was thinking. If there was another way to make money, they could follow and learn from him. Fan Jinshi shook her head. I don't know what he is thinking. I just know that Zhang Zhong doesn't want us to have a good life. If I had known this would happen, I would have gone to welcome him when he came that day. Now everything is fine. Who would have thought that he would have these ideas? Why don't we go and beg him in person? I heard that his wife is pregnant again. We can use this as an excuse to go to him and apologize. Let him decide. What do you think? We can't go on like this. Let's not talk about the hardships of life. We are always on tenterhooks and will get sick. I don't think it's useful. I recently thought about Zhang Zhong and found that as long as his officials do something wrong, especially harm the people, he will do his best to deal with them. If we go and apologize, what are we going to apologize for? Tell him what happened in the past? That's good. He will directly use these things to deal with us. But if we don't say it, how can it be called an apology? We can say that we shouldn't have offended him. He may just smile and say that we didn't do anything to offend him. Then he will invite us out and collect the money like how it should be. I think we can't stay here any longer. We should go to Qingzhou quickly. As long as we tell the provincial governor surnamed Ning, we can ask him for some money to pay off these debts. At most, we will listen to his surname Ning in the future and sell us. We won't be as strong as we are now. Jiang Huanshe didn't agree to admit their mistakes because he found some of Zhang Zhong's style of doing things. He definitely wouldn't forgive them so easily. Instead, he would say that they were wrong and let Zhang Zhong get the evidence. After hearing what he said, the other 2 people also felt that this matter was troublesome. It seemed that they had to leave this time. As for Lu Xiaoqing, it was up to him to think of a solution. No matter what, since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, the 3 of them could only temporarily unite. Although the other 2 people were very dissatisfied with Chao Herui, after all, his family was taken away by the Zhang family. Chao Herui thought about what happened these days. He looked at the scorching sun overhead and said, the Zhang family is indeed a good person. They separated the 4 of us when we were still united. Otherwise, if the 4 of us were always together, wouldn't we be able to see through their plan? Sowing discord. Sometimes, even though you know it, you have no choice but to jump in. The 30 people in my family are doing pretty well now. I reckon that they will be kicked back in 2 days. Since the Zhang family has achieved their goal, why would they help us raise those people? What I want to say is that the 3 of us don't have any barriers anymore. Otherwise, it will be very easy for Zhang Zhong to find another opportunity. In the future, if we have something to say, we have to say it out loud. What do you think? I'm really scared. The 2 listened to Chao Herui and felt that it was reasonable. However, it seemed that it was impossible for them to be like before. After all, they used to make money together. Now they had to pay their own money. No one felt good being suppressed by money. Fan Jinshi nodded and said, "Then it's settled. We will leave tomorrow. Don't look for others, just the three of us. Once we leave, our families will be very sad. I hope that Zhang Zhong won't specifically target our families. Otherwise, when I have a little chance to get rid of him, I won't let him have an easy time." The three of them discussed for a while and settled the matter. Then they waited for the news to see what Lu was doing. After a while, the person who went out to inquire about the news came back and said to the three of them, "Master, we didn't get anything. It seems that there is something special, but only Lord Lu and a steward know about it. The others don't know. They sent some people to keep an eye on the Zhang family. That's all they know." After the person who inquired about the news finished, he stood aside respectfully and didn't say anything. Fan Jinshi snorted and said, "It seems that he still has other ways. At this time he didn't tell us about it. Don't blame us for not taking him when we go out. Let's see what he can do. Well, in this case, let's leave him alone first. Now go back and prepare. Don't let him know when the three of us leave. Otherwise people like him will probably tell." The other two nodded their heads and left to prepare. The Zhang family was also busy. After scheming against the four of them, Zhang Zhong was in a very good mood. Just as the four of them thought, Zhang Zhong wanted to deal with them, but he couldn't find any evidence, so he could only think of other ways. After this, they couldn't expect to make a comeback. The interest was increasing every month. At this time, the Zhang family was making salted vegetables, the salted vegetables with shrimp sauce. They had already asked people to make small baskets. Most of the people who made baskets were the people who didn't work but went to catch shrimp. These people regretted now. Some of them directly waited outside for the Zhang family and then kowtowed and apologized. They wanted to continue working. These days they didn't get a lot of wages and they didn't eat as well as they did when they were working. In the end, the shrimp sauce was worthless, so they were all dumbfounded. Now they hoped that the good official would forgive them. Zhang Zhong really didn't want to do anything to them. Since they knew they were wrong, he handed the task of making baskets to them. This time, the people didn't dare to blindly think about it. They were very obedient and did what they were told. Looking at them, Zhang Zhong couldn't get angry even if he wanted to. He could only sigh at how unpredictable people were. The original people who continued to work would say a few words when they met them, but they didn't dare to say anything. It was indeed wrong. It turned out that they gave up first, so they couldn't blame others. Under such circumstances, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan brought the team back. In the team there was also a dog that had recovered quite well. Chapter 66. Zhang Zhong. For some reason this dog was very sensible and very obedient. It was good to the people around it. It ate what was given. When it could get down and walk by itself, it didn't stay in the kennel all day. Instead it followed Wang Wan. Its two children were also being carried, so it wasn't in a hurry. Ever since it followed Wang Wan, its food was better. With a gauze wrapped around its leg, it went back and forth between Wang Wan and the kennel all day. When it was time, it would go back and feed the two puppies. Wang Wan occasionally went over to take a look at the two puppies. This big dog, which was supposed to be very protective of its puppies, didn't make a sound when Wang Wan carried the two puppies. It also followed and looked at them. This made Li Sun very jealous. He thought that when the two puppies grew up, they would be as obedient as this big dog. He vowed to find a good dog like this. Xiaobao, how do you think your plan is going now? Did they start to think of ways to raise money after being tricked? I really want to see what they look like. When I first came over, I actually wanted to give them a show of strength first. Let's see if they are still so arrogant now. Wang Wan hugged the puppies and gently stroked them there as she spoke to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was actually also thinking about this matter. As long as his plan didn't go wrong, those four people definitely wouldn't be able to escape. Wasn't there no evidence? If there was evidence, they might be locked up. But if there was no evidence, they would be allowed to live in poverty all day. Let's see which one is better. However, Zhang Xiaobao was also worried that they would get money from other places. If that was the case, they would be able to get rid of this matter and think of ways to transfer them away. This was what Zhang Xiaobao didn't want. The four of them were able to force the previous provincial governor to such an extent, which meant that they had done a lot of bad things. How could they be let off so easily? How could there be justice in this world? Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaobao said, according to the days, they should have already started to take action. I just don't know what the final result is. We will know when we go back. There is still a long way to go. Let's speed up. With their example, I think when my father becomes an official in other places in the future, someone will know his weight. People's hearts are always a little bit lucky. Unfortunately, they met my family and let them be lucky. Let's see what they will do. If we don't force them to disperse all the servants in the family, we will definitely not give up. I think we should teach them a good lesson. The local people all hate them. An official hated by the people is definitely not a good official, especially when there is a flood. Everyone is anxious, but they are actually gloating there. Let them be happy. Let's see how long they can be happy. Wang Wan was very happy when she thought that the four of them would be taught a lesson. Even Li Sun next to her was thinking the same. Now he was a good marquis. He was no longer the Li Sun who didn't know anything and only wanted to seize other people's things when they were good. When I have a fief, I will learn your way of doing things. Let's see who is stupid enough to bump into it. The more the better. I am worried that there is nothing to do. Hurry up, speed up. Li Sun said and shouted to the team. The speed of the whole team increased. Wang Wan also asked people to take the dog and put it in the kennel. The three of them were riding on horses. They found horses from the place where they worked. At this time, they were only a little bit away from the provincial capital. The speed of more than 100 people was now much faster than when they first came. They didn't feel the pain in their feet. During the half-month on the mountain, they finally stubbornly persevered. They were used to this kind of movement. In the future they would find them to try a few more times. The speed of the team increased, and the dog happily ran at the side. When they saw other people on the road, the dog didn't bark. It was so calm that people couldn't understand. After an hour, the provincial capital's yamen finally appeared in front of them. Li Sun happily jumped off the horse and shouted to the place where his house was, "I am back. After more than half a month I came back alive." Li Sun was indeed very proud. He had been following the team. Although he rode a horse when he went and when he came back, there were no horses to ride on when they were in the mountain. He followed by himself. This was the real survival in the wild. Compared to the way he did before, it was like heaven and earth. The more than 100 people were relieved. After coming back they could have a good rest for 2 days. They stayed in the mountain for so long. Each one of them was tanned and thin, but they were more energetic. Especially the guards of the Wang mansion. They had a total of 200 people. Only 50 of them went, and there were still 150 who didn't go. The 50 of them finally had something to say to the people who stayed behind. The other thing they hoped for the most was that after they came back, they would rest for a while and then immediately leave again with the other 150 people. This way, if they were to march in a hurry, they would be able to show off their strength. The 56 people on Zhang Xiaobao's side didn't think too much. They were originally like this. They were the most powerful people in the family. Even if they were more powerful, it didn't matter. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ran inside as soon as they came down. They wanted to ask their mothers how they were. These days, the two of them were actually thinking about their families, but they couldn't just turn around and come back. They could only continue like this. When the two of them came back, the house immediately became lively. The people in the house were also worried about them. At the same time, they wanted to tell them good news. When the two of them heard about the fate of the 4 people, they were very happy. That's great. This is the punishment they deserve. Let's see if anyone dares to do this in the future. Wang Wan said after she heard and hugged Puppy. Zhang Xiaobao also nodded. Then did they do anything now? Did they find another backer? This matter was what Zhang Xiaobao was most concerned about. He was afraid that the 4 of them would have an extra backer. If that was the case, it would be difficult to deal with. Zhang Zhong looked at his son and said, "We didn't find any extra people. However, the people from the Liu family didn't sell the shrimp sauce to us. Instead they kept it. I don't know what they are planning to do. As for the others, those 3 people didn't show up. The people from the Liu family also sent people to monitor us. I don't know what they want to do." "Oh, they didn't sell it? It seems that they think that the shrimp sauce can do something else. They are monitoring us so that they can learn something from us. Could it be that there are powerful people in their family? Let's learn. Let's see how they learn. In that case, let's not talk about it first. How are my mother and Cuckoo's mother?" Zhang Xiaobao came up with a rough idea as soon as he stopped. He couldn't prevent this, but he didn't need to. The things here would be shipped away after they were done. If they didn't sell them here first, even if the Liu family found out, they wouldn't have the ingredients to make salted vegetables. They wouldn't be able to survive this period of time. When Zhang Xiaobao mentioned his mother, Wang Wan also waited for a reply. Zhang Zhong smiled and said, "Okay, everything is fine. Don't worry. You two suffered a lot on the mountain, right? Hurry up and wash up. Rest early. When you wake up, you can take care of other things." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were indeed tired. They nodded and left with the 3 dogs. The big dog followed Wang Wan. Even if it was the person who fed it, it didn't follow. The others couldn't figure out the reason. The next morning, the people who were monitoring the 4 families hurriedly came to report that the people from the 3 families had disappeared. It was the masters of the 3 main families. Usually they would come out for a walk. Today they didn't know why, but they suspected that they would suddenly leave. After receiving this news, the shrimp seller immediately went to ask when the money would be paid. After asking, the result was that the masters of the 3 families were gone. Only the others were left. Zhang Zhong didn't say anything after hearing this news. He couldn't do anything to those families. Even if those families had done a lot of bad things in the past, the real sinners were those 4 people. After sending people to investigate, they finally discovered the secret. The 3 of them had actually left through an underground passageway. After receiving this news, Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and said, "It seems that the 3 of them still have people who can help them. In that case, let's wait and see what kind of people they can find. I don't believe that the people they find can be that powerful." Chapter 462. After knowing this, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not take it to heart. It was nothing more than finding a rich or powerful person. In fact, if they sent people to chase after them now, it was really possible to catch up with the 3 of them. The 3 of them usually lived like princes. Where could they go in such a short time? However, Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao did not have such thoughts. They just let them run and see what would happen. Lu Shaoqing did not know about this until noon. Needless to say, he also knew that the 3 of them did not care about him anymore and went to find Tang, governor of Ning, together. In this way he would really have to deal with Zhang Zhong alone in the future. Thinking of this, he felt that he could not just let it go. Since the 3 of them did not care about him anymore, he would not keep a secret for them anymore. He arranged for his family to tell Zhang Zhong where the 3 of them went. After hearing this, Zhang Zhong frowned. He did not expect that the 3 of them would be so bold as to go to a place outside to find another governor to deal with him. Lu Shaoqing explained the matter in detail. He even told Zhang Zhong about what the 4 of them had discussed in the beginning. He let Zhang Zhong prepare in advance, especially about the tea leaves. Oh, so they used such a method. I thought it was very clever. Not to mention the tea leaves, even if we told him everything else, what could he do? Would he dare to come and snatch it? What can the family do? Anyway, last time, because they wanted to collect money, they made our caravan unable to pass. I have long since planned to be on good terms with them. When Zhang Xiaobao was told about the whereabouts of the 3 of them and their plan, he looked very calm. He was really not afraid of this and had long been prepared for this matter. Wang Wan thought for a while and said, "The 3 of them can be locked up now. They left their place without permission. This is not a small crime. Although they are not allowed to do anything, they still have the position of magistrate, right? Yes, this time they will not be able to come back without 10 days or half a month. Leaving for such a long time is not a small crime. I will tell my father now." Zhang Xiaobao felt that it made sense. Who would dare to run around without any reason? In a while, he would let his father use the excuse of the government to go to their house and ask them to do something. After a few days, the crime would be determined. Then, would they still want to see if they still had a family? In fact, there was no need for Zhang Xiaobao to tell him. Zhang Zhong had also thought of this matter. He had already asked people to use this excuse to go to the 3 families to look for them. Naturally, they could not find them. That was right. When the 3 families found out about this situation, they were all dumbfounded. They hurriedly sent people out to search for their masters, wanting to bring them back. However, they had been gone for so long, how could they find them? Moreover, the people at home didn't know which path they had taken. Lu Shaoqing was happy. When he heard that the government had sent people to look for them, he sat in the courtyard of his house and said to himself, "You want to send me away? Well, let's see how you do it. Now, are you going to come back? What I did today should be considered as making up for my mistakes, right? Why can't Zhang Zhong give me some face?" Lu Shaoqing thought about this and called the person in charge over. He asked him to go over there and ask if they could give more money for the shrimp sauce. The person in charge left quickly and returned quickly. He said to Lu Shaoqing, "Master, they said that they can't give more money, but they told me that I can use the shrimp sauce to make salted vegetables. They asked people to weave a small basket to hold the salted vegetables. When the time comes, it will be transported to other places to be sold. They also said that you can learn how to make the shrimp sauce. When the time comes to sell it to them, they will give more money. After this jar of shrimp sauce is sold to them, it is estimated that a jar of shrimp sauce should be around 2 strings of money. Okay, then immediately make the salted vegetables. Also, get people to weave that basket. When the time comes, sell it to them. When Lu Shaoqing heard this, he immediately began to give orders. The person in charge said worriedly, "Master, this matter doesn't seem to work. What if they lie to us again?" "What lie?" "They won't lie to us anymore. Even if they have those things, we can't pay them back. There's no need. Just do it. Maybe they will give more money when the time comes. In the future, be more honest. Don't cause trouble. The more honest, the better. Also, send people from home to help with some work. As long as Zhang Zhong feels that we are too pitiful, it is very likely that he will let us go. Otherwise, there won't be good days ahead." "I hope so." Lu Shaoqing understood. He was prepared to pretend to be pitiful to gain sympathy. After all, his performance today was not bad. Zhang Zhong's side would be soft-hearted. The person in charge understood and left. Lu Shaoqing stayed in the courtyard. Looking at the gradually darkening sky, he said with emotion, "I didn't expect that when the 3 of them left, I would have found an opportunity. If I knew this would happen, I would have used it in the past." Zhang Zhong was also thinking about something. In fact, it was related to Lu Shaoqing. He was not prepared to let go of this person easily. However, today he came over and told him. If others knew about this matter and he still forced him like this, in the future if someone really did something wrong, would they still come and tell on him? It was because of this that Zhang Zhong told the person in Lu Shaoqing's house about the salted vegetables so that Lu Shaoqing could have a way to live. Since the 3 of them went to find a way to live, Lu Shaoqing would help him find it. However, he would not let go so easily. Even if Lu Shaoqing could find enough ingredients to make salted vegetables and sell them for money, it would not be enough to pay back those loan sharks. He would only feel a little more relaxed in his life. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was time to harvest. The rice was growing quite well here. There was also cotton. The cotton needed to be harvested later. The rice would be harvested first. The people who were building the seawall also stopped their work and prepared to harvest the rice. After harvesting, they would immediately plant again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had nothing to do. Wang Wan was there playing with the little dog. Since the little dog opened its eyes, it began to become restless. It crawled everywhere and looked very cute. Wang Wan would make some rice soup to feed it. Zhang Xiaobao sat in the yard and thought about something. In fact, this matter should not be thought about by him. It involved problems such as water pressure. However, he had nothing to do. He was waiting for the 3 of them to find someone to stir up trouble here. He could only use his energy in other aspects. Wang Wan led the little dog and slowly circled Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao did not care. Suddenly he said to Wang Wan, who was in front of him, "When we go diving, how deep do you think we can go with the tools we can think of here?" "Diving? Who wants to dive? We don't have anything here." Wang Wan asked puzzledly. "There are many things here that can only be fished up from the sea. In other words, we need some people to go to the bottom of the sea. For example, local specialties. Isn't that the case? If we can let people dive in, it will be easy to pick them up. What do you think of blowing bubbles for pigs? Can it be used?" Zhang Xiaobao had this idea for a long time, but he had never said it. Now that he thought of it, he decided to give it a try. If he could make such a thing, then there would be more local specialties here and it would be more profitable. Wang Wan thought for a moment and said, "This doesn't seem to work, right? If it is relatively shallow water, it will work. If it is too deep in the sea, the pressure will be too great. I don't think people can bear it. Then think about it. What if we use a pipe to let people go down? Will this work?" Wang Wan felt that it would be very difficult to summon qi from pigs under that pressure. She gave Zhang Xiaobao another hint. This time Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "How can there be such a long pipe? Also, there is no soft pipe. Let's think of another way. There is no rush. There is still a lot of time to do this." "I think so too. Don't worry, take it slow. The most important thing now is to harvest the rice. It seems that this rice is growing well here. The yield is not low. When the time comes, we can use this thing to exchange with the surrounding states for their poor rice. The commoners will have more food in their homes." Wang Wan also could not think of how to dive. Without the equipment, she changed the topic and talked about the rice. Zhang Xiaobao also went to see it personally. The weather here was good. The rice had a long time of sunlight. In addition, it was a slow-growing variety. It grew well. In addition to the rice, there is also cotton. This year we can make more cotton-padded clothes. It is a pity that we can't wear them. However, it will be good for our farmers to wear. Li Sun said that he wants to plant more and submit this method to the higher-ups. Back then he promised us a year. Now that the time has come, we will make as much money as we can this year. Wang Wan thought of cotton again. It was not easy to monopolize this thing. Old Man Pai and Li Sun both wanted to plant a large amount of this thing so that the commoners could get some benefits in certain aspects. At the same time, the most important thing was to fight. Wearing this cotton-padded clothes could withstand the cold. They could not let all the soldiers wear a set of eider down. Therefore this secret could not be kept. Wang Wan was a little unhappy. It was not that she did not want to help the country and the people. If this business was handed to her, she could guarantee that she could grow more cotton. Chapter 68. Xiaobao didn't care much about this and said, even if other people plant it, we can still make money. This cotton is a new product, and they haven't fully understood the system of making things with this cotton. Don't worry, when other people have cotton, we can make all kinds of things with this cotton. For example, cloth dolls stuffed with cotton. Zhang Xiaobao thought of this. Wang Wan's eyes suddenly lit up and she said, yes, I forgot about this. I just want to make more clothes. Besides clothes, I can use cotton for other things. In this way, I don't have to worry about other people growing cotton. Well, now help me think, what else can cotton do? That's a lot. Cotton's uses are not just what you see on the surface. For example, the cotton seeds can be used to extract oil. This is considered a good thing. Slowly think about it. I don't know when the pigeons will be produced. The hatching has actually failed. Zhang Xiaobao thought of the pigeons again. Humans, when they had nothing to do, they would start thinking about other things. Cherries had always been in charge of this. Originally, she was in charge of hatching things. Now that they were hatching pigeons, they naturally looked for her. In the end, they had tried many times and failed every single time. They had already wasted a lot of pigeon eggs. Fortunately, the old man did not care. The old man also knew that as long as this matter succeeded once, it would be simple. There would be more and more pigeons in the future. Wang Wan also felt that this pigeon was not easy to deal with, but she could not let Cherries stop. If that happened, Cherries would definitely think that she did not do a good job and make the master angry. Her enthusiasm would be dispelled. Let Cherries try. It's best to find more pigeon eggs and let her hatch them according to different methods. For example, time, temperature, humidity, etc. As long as they are met, there will always be a place where she succeeds. It is impossible for her to fail every single time. Wang Wan thought about it and decided to continue investing in Cherries. She wanted to let Cherries rest assured. This kind of thing must be encouraged, just like pomegranate's fungus. When she thought of the fungus, Wang Wan happily said to Zhang Xiaobao, pomegranate succeeded. She really grew mushrooms and there are a lot of them. There are two kinds. One is like the golden needle mushroom and the other one is unknown. The other one is very large. When did this happen? Why didn't I know? Zhang Xiaobao did not expect that pomegranate really grew mushrooms. He was curious and a little puzzled. She just did it. Two kinds of mushrooms were grown at the same time. It happened last night. Pomegranate did not know whether it could kill people, so she did not tell others. I saw it when I was wandering around. She told me. She also asked me to help her keep it a secret. She said that when she knew that it could be eaten without killing people, she would grow more. What do you think? Isn't it amazing? Wait for her to learn more, then let her grow ginseng. Anyway, there is nothing else. If they are willing to try again and again, then let them try. Don't you think it should be like this? Wang Wan felt that the money was well spent. Mushrooms, were they so easy to grow? But pomegranate was able to grow them, and cherries also had to be treated like this. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.